Are your daydreams filled with salty air, gorgeous sunsets, and a certain je ne sais quoi? The beautiful beaches of the French Riviera are calling. Protect your European vacation with Allianz Travel Insurance to help you answer travel challenges like delayed or canceled flights, lost luggage, and medical mishaps with a nonchalant c'est la vie.
Hi, my name is John Patalis, and I am your Lake County Treasurer. Your Treasurer's Office is responsible for the collection of over $1 billion per year in money that belongs to you, the taxpayer. I am asking you for your support and vote on Tuesday, May 5, as I seek re-election to this very important financial office. For public service and not self-service, please remember me, John Patalis, for your Lake County Treasurer. Paid for by the committee to elect John Patalis.
My name is Jason Gore, and I'm asking for your vote to be Lake County's next sheriff. I was born, raised, started the family, and worked my nearly 30-year career in law enforcement, both as a local police officer and as an ATF agent, all here in Lake County. I promise to lead differently, restore the public's trust in the Sheriff's Department, and to build a world-class police organization that is focused on serving you. In this election, Lake County residents have a different choice.
I'm Jerry Williams. For over 35 years, I protected Lake County as a state trooper and interim police chief of Gary. This is my home, and keeping our community safe has been my life's work. I've dedicated my career to fighting crime. Now I'm running for sheriff to get the job done and deliver real results. As a crime fighter, not a politician, I'd be honored to have your vote. Paid for by the committee to elect Jerry Williams for sheriff.
The St. John Township Democratic Precinct Organization endorses Frank Mervan for U.S. Congress, Mike Brown for Clerk of Lake County, Gina Pimentel for Treasurer, Stephen Flores for Sheriff, LaTanya Spearman for Assessor, and Stephen Minchik for the 6th District of the Lake County Council. Please elect these outstanding individuals on May 5th. This ad is paid for by the St. John Township Democratic Precinct Organization, Jane Wallace, Chairperson.
State Senator Dan Darnell was supposed to be different. He promised to fight for Hoosier families and stand with President Trump. He failed. Durnell voted against President Trump's agenda in Washington. That hurt Hoosier families, and he voted to let a Chinese company buy Hoosier farmland, putting China before us. Dan Durnell, opposing Trump, voting like a liberal, letting us down. A disgrace.
President Trump has endorsed conservative Trevor DeVries for state senate, a real Republican who will fight for Hoosier values. Trevor DeVries will stand with Trump, protect Hoosier farmland from China, defeat the liberal agenda, and never let you down. A true America First conservative. The right choice for Indiana. Endorsed by Trump, Trevor DeVries for state senate. Election day is May 5th. Paid for by American Leadership PAC.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In case you didn't know, the election is just about here. This time next week, we won't have all those ads, but it's Tom Dabertin. Great to be here with you. I'm going to be here till 9 a.m. It's the morning call on WJOB 1230 AM and 104.7 FM. Of course, we're also on the TuneIn app and YouTube Live. So lots of ways to listen to us this morning. We'll be here till 9. Beginning at 8:05, we've got some political interviews, paid political interviews, but the lines are open now, so give us a call at 845-1100. Let's begin with traffic, then we'll do weather, and lots to talk about this morning. Everything from the latest assassination attempt on President Trump from Saturday night to the debacle over at BP oil that I want to talk about because it's really scary when you read the statement that was put out. So let's get to traffic, though, first. And right now, in the 6 o'clock hour, in the Chicago, Northwest Indiana area, it actually looks quite good. 8094, I-65, the Toll Road, and Klein Avenue are all in great shape going across the line into Illinois. The same could be said just about for any expressway in the Chicago area right now. We're in pretty good shape. Not expecting for it to last, however. The only area actually of concern is a bit of a backup on the Dan Ryan inbound, say from about 35th north, but that's going to build shortly. And with that, let's talk about weather with Lynette. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 50 degrees with highs of 56 and lows of 38. We'll be having some sun returning. It should be cooler with a shower or two and then breezy this morning. Tomorrow on Thursday we'll be having highs of 53 and lows of 40 with times of clouds and sun with a shower in the area and should be cool. And then Friday we'll be having highs of 49 and lows of 35. It should be mostly cloudy and cold. And before we move on, I'm going to do a few live reads. This Mother's Day, make it unforgettable with something that truly shines from Albert's Diamond Jewelers. From timeless diamond pendants to elegant bracelets, you'll find the perfect gift for Mom. Visit Albert's today and give her something as special as she is. Moving on from that, prom is around the corner and Mother's Day is right behind it. Make both moments bloom with flowers from Strachan Van Til. From eye-catching corsages to heartfelt bouquets, you'll find something perfect for every occasion. Stop by today and pick out fresh flowers that make memories last. And then lastly, Election night coverage on WJOB will be brought to you by Tech Credit Union, serving our community with trusted financial solutions. Tech Credit Union is committed by helping you achieve your goals today and tomorrow. Learn more at techcu.org.
Yeah, and just a shout out to John Wilkening, their chief banking officer, is going to be on with me on next Thursday because I'll be doing next Wednesday and Thursday. So next Wednesday morning we'll do a kind of a postpartum on the election. I believe Roy Dominguez said he's going to stop in and talk, and then on Thursday we'll have John Wilkening. So that's all coming up next week. But I want to get right to this. This is from Paul Goddard and Region News Source. And again, folks, if you haven't done so, you really need to check out Region News Source. Really, really economical way to get the most breaking news in Northwest Indiana. But this is a letter that was passed on to him, to Paul Goddard, from inside the BP refinery. And basically, it says that this was over this past weekend on Sunday. If you lived in Northwest Indiana, if you came through Northwest Indiana, it literally looked like we were on fire. Massive flare stacks, burn off of all kinds of problems going on at BP because they lost power. But here's what's scary. When you read this, it says equipment tied to the refinery's sulfur recovery process, including both tail gas units at the sulfur recovery unit, went down, resulting in a hazardous release of hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, and other toxic gases into the atmosphere. Workers who were in the plant at the time were required to wear self-containing breathing apparatus, or SCIBA units, for several hours. Yet BP Oil failed to inform the surrounding community of the dangers that was going on in the hazardous release. Paul Goddard, great job in getting that out there. But think about it, folks. No one in Whiting, no one in Robertsdale, no one in North Hammond, no one in East Chicago was informed that there were dangerous gases being released by BP Oil. There was a potential of people's lives being at risk. They never bothered to tell anyone. The alarms were going off all night. They never apologized for the inconvenience. They gave some schmaltzy statement to the Times, I think, on Monday that, their safety is their first priority. Baloney, because if safety is your first priority, you would have told people what was going on. But it's just indicative of what BP Oil does these days. It really acts as though it's an island, and it doesn't have to let the community know what's going on. And it's really sad. They had the flood a year ago. There were, again, hazardous materials that were released and flooded the streets. BP never took responsibility, never said, hey, we're sorry, we've made a mistake. Where's the empathy from BP Oil today or yesterday saying, hey, we had a problem Sunday night, and we're really sorry for keeping people up all night with loud noises from the release of pressure from the refinery, or those flare stacks that kept a lot of people awake and scared a lot of people. They never issued a statement. It was like, we made a mistake, but our safety is our first priority for those of us that are still in the plant, even though we have a lockout. 845-1100 is the number to call, and we've got plenty of callers, so we'll go right to the callers. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning.
I'm glad I don't live in East Chicago.
Okay, why?
Because Mayor Anthony Copeland is going to have a fundraiser in June. $1,000 plate. But they got the casino over there in East Chicago, right?
Yes.
Well, if he was running for mayor and I lived in that city, I would never vote for him in my life again, because he's having his fundraiser at the Hard Rock Casino. What does all the East Chicago people think about Mayor Copeland having his fundraiser in Gary? Well, it's Black Oak. I don't call it Hard Rock Casino Gary. It's Black Oak, because Gary is Gary. But isn't that a shame that he's having a fundraiser, $1,000 plate in June, and he can't even hold it somewhere in his own city?
Well, let me ask you, Mike, does that really make a big difference, though? I mean, he's having it a couple of blocks away from his city. Is that a huge issue, though?
Yes, it is, because he's the mayor of the city. He should support his city, have everything go on in his city. Is he ashamed to have it in his own city? And then now I want to shift over to Randy Niemeyer. I've been hearing these commercials, and it says that Randy Niemeyer approved of raising the gas tax and allowing China to buy farmland in Indiana.
No, I think that's Rick Niemeyer, not Randy. That's Rick Niemeyer. You're hearing commercials about. That's not Randy Niemeyer. Randy Niemeyer is a county council member. Rick Niemeyer is a state senator. I believe they're cousins.
So that Niemeyer in that election is approving to raise the gas tax and to allow China to buy up our farmland. That's a shame, Well, and then now, now let's go over to Gary, okay? There was a video come out that Gary is going to infrastructure going to replace most of and all of non-working street lights. I went down yesterday down Ridge Road. None of them have been fixed yet. I've got a guy that I've been on the phone with that came to Gary a long time ago, made a video about Gary. Him and I has been talking. and he's going to be coming next month. Because it says by April, phase 2 by April. Is it tomorrow's the last day of April?
And they're going. You're talking about the streetlights or the stoplights?
Stoplights. Okay, but the thing, let me explain something. It says phase 2 will be done by April. Is it April this year or next year? Well, this guy, we've been on the phone yesterday. He's going to be coming here next month. We're going to meet. We're going to be driving down these streets showing what's going on in Gary, because they're not fixing none of the streetlights, but they're picking on one area in Gary to fix the curves, spend all that money, but they're not, you don't have no big box stores in Gary. You got only two grocery shopping stores in Gary. But nobody, him and I have been on the phone talking. He's going to come next month, and we're going to go through Gary, make a video about none of these street lights and how there's a garage I pass by on 5th Avenue. Every time I go back and forth with my student, it is just keep falling apart. How lazy is the city to start enforcing the code enforcement?
Well, stoplights in Gary haven't worked in years, and I agree with you. I saw the same announcement that they were going to enter phase 2 or complete phase 2 in April. Stoplights haven't worked in Gary in years. Streetlights haven't worked for that matter either. There is some question that I get posed every so often. I'm going to try and find out the answer for next week, because Gary talks about tearing down buildings, but my understanding, the only demolition that's really going on is the one where the contractors volunteered, and that's a handful compared to the tens of thousands of buildings that need to be taken down. So I agree with you. I think it's a relevant concern about the stoplights in Gary. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, because I just went down yesterday. After I got done with what I had to do, I drove down to see if there was any improvement on Ridge Road, and none. So me and that guy that's been talking, he's going to come next month. We're going to go to Gary.
You said that.
Yeah. And
we'd love to see the video when you shoot it.
Oh, yeah. He's going to produce it. I'm going to take him around and show him everything that the city has not done, Gary has not done. They're saying they're doing so much, but they're not doing the main stretches. Because, my students go down 5th Avenue back and forth when we're running around. Mm-hmm. And they say, this is disgusting. Look at these buildings. I says, yep, this is Gary, Indiana, But that's all I got to say, but I'm sure glad I don't live in East Chicago, especially when that mayor can't even. Yep.
All right. Thanks so much, Mike. You have a great day. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got some additional callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Well, the Chicago media is reporting that this is the 100th anniversary of the establishment of Route 66. And it was a road built in its day. It was the Cat's Meow that connected Chicago to Santa Monica, California. And it was decommissioned in 1955 because of the building of the interstate system. But you can get books as to how to follow along as to where it exists in various places.
There's part of me, Walt, that's always wanted to take that drive. And here's the challenge. Part of me wants to do it because I want to see some of the back roads and the small towns that Route 66 went through. Right. And then part of me says I don't want to do it because I'm one of those people that gets pretty impatient trying to get from one point to another. So I don't know that how I would fare in that regard. So it is truly historic, and there's a lot of history tied to Route 66. But I just don't know. Again, part of me says I want to do it, and part of me says I don't want to do it. Of course, I haven't done it. So,
well, I would say that given the way it exists now, that you'd have to have some patience and being able to follow directions as to where it used to be and where you can go, and they probably have renumbered it and so forth. But it's a fairly popular thing to do, not only for Americans but Europeans. They take it to see the old America. And
well, you and I both remember the old show Route 66, which was a little bit,
yes,
it to me it was a little bit of a stretch. These two young guys, they're college guys, and they're driving around solving problems for everybody. It was a bit of a stretch, but one of the things that I think the whole lesson of Route 66 that is applicable is when you drive on the interstate, you rarely get off and explore little towns. All right, so Don and I went down to Thunder over Louisville a couple of weeks ago, and we went to Jeffersonville, Indiana. And downtown Jeffersonville is really a neat little downtown. Has an old candy shop. It's got a couple of bars and restaurants, and there's a lot of neat things to see. And part of the criticism of the interstate system is you fly by all of it. You just drive past all of it at 70 some miles an hour, and you never see the real America. America is not New York and Los Angeles and everything in between. It's all these little towns and cities, and so it's important to get to know what those communities are like. And so I think that the romance of Route 66 is just that if you're on Route 66, you get to see all these small little towns that you don't otherwise see on the interstate.
I'd like to talk about the incident at the White House Correspondents Association before the shooting started with Californian Cole Allen. It was just sickening to watch these media people whine and complain. I hope that Trump says nice things about us. He's always saying nasty things and so forth, and his attacks on the First Amendment, baloney. I mean, that is ridiculous. Whatever I've seen him do in terms of tell a reporter that's stupid, that's a stupid question, or use the word fake news and so forth. I mean, the public doesn't have a high regard for the media, but certainly the idea that somehow if you criticize the performance of the media, that somehow that's an attack on the First Amendment is nonsense.
Well, I think that part of the lesson of Saturday night is that the seeds of discontent that were planted by the news media over the years have come back to haunt them. So you have the tragedy, the near tragedy of an attempted assassination, okay, which is a tragedy from the standpoint of that it shouldn't happen in our country. But then you have the news media who's planted all kinds of false information over the years. And then you have this attempted assassination, and right away people are out there with conspiracy theories claiming it was all planned, it's all a sham, and that's just ridiculous. It was a real incident. I think President Trump actually handled things quite well. I think he was generally pretty respectful toward the news media. I saw the one woman who was from CBS, who was the chairman of the White House Correspondents Association, and he was very flattering to her and very kind to her, and she even said that in an interview on Sunday morning that he went so far as to make sure that her family was safe, that she got to know that her family was safe because her family was there, her parents and her daughter and her husband, and that he was very kind and caring. Jonathan Karl, who has been one of his biggest critics from ABC, said that the president actually called him at 3 a.m., and asked him if he was okay, and said, you seemed a little shaken up. So you saw a different side of Donald Trump, and I think that's a positive that came out of that situation. I think people are absolutely out of their minds to think that was some sort of a fake situation. I think it was very, very real, and once again, we came very, very close to an extremely tragic event, and not just the president. I think that if that gunman had gotten in there, he may have just started shooting. What I find very interesting, though, is that the state of California has some of the most stringent laws in this nation when it comes to gun ownership. And where does this guy come from, Walt? Where did he come from again? Oh, California. And he bought the guns legally. And, so what does that prove? It proves that gun control it doesn't work. Gun control is basically a panacea. It's really the people that own guns and the basically the propensity for violence in this nation. That's the problem. That's really where the problem lies.
And the criminals get kid gloves treatment from our big city courts. They're dominated by Democrats, very liberal. I mean, they despite the serious criminal behavior. I mean, places like Chicago, and I know after 40 years of working in Chicago, I got to know a lot of Chicago cops, and they just shake their head. They say these guys have records, 30, 40 arrests, no convictions. How is that possible? I mean, given the level of violence that goes on, that's why I don't go into Chicago anymore. I mean, because the brazenness of these criminals is just amazing, and the violence that they inflict goes on in downtown Chicago with shootings in downtown Chicago. It used to be you could say, well, it was out there on the west side or the south side. Not anymore. I mean, the criminals are coming into North Michigan Avenue, which is a premier shopping area, high-value area.
It's very sad, and of course there was the tragic killing of a police officer over the weekend in Chicago. Another one is
right.
critically injured. There have been 119 homicides in Chicago in 2026, and this was from 8 days ago. That doesn't count the police officers, so I believe the number is 122 now from what I'm seeing online this morning. But it is tragic, and that's way too many murders for 4 months, for less than 4 months out of the year. Hey, we've got to take a break, Walt. Thanks so much for calling. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. It's the Morning Call with Tom Dabertin on WJOB 1230 AM and 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
I spent more than 2 decades protecting the people of Lake County as a patrol officer, canine handler, detective, and now chief of police. I know what it takes to keep our neighborhoods safe, support our local police departments, and hold the sheriff's office to the highest standards. As your sheriff, I'll focus on strong training, crime prevention, and real partnerships with the communities we serve. I'm Stephen Flores. I'm ready to be a working sheriff you can trust, and I approve this message.
Hi, my name is John Patalis, and I am your Lake County Treasurer. Your Treasurer's Office is responsible for the collection of over $1 billion per year in money that belongs to you, the taxpayer. I am asking you for your support and vote on Tuesday, May 5, as I seek re-election to this very important financial office. For public service and not self-service, please remember me, John Patalis, for your Lake County Treasurer. Paid for by the committee to elect John Patalis.
I'm Jerry Williams. For over 35 years, I protected Lake County as a state trooper and interim police chief of Gary. This is my home, and keeping our community safe has been my life's work. I've dedicated my career to fighting crime. Now I'm running for sheriff to get the job done and deliver real results. As a crime fighter, not a politician, I'd be honored to have your vote. Paid for by the committee to elect Jerry Williams for sheriff.
State Senator Dan Darnell was supposed to be different. He promised to fight for Hoosier families and stand with President Trump. He failed. Darnell voted against President Trump's agenda in Washington. That hurt Hoosier families, and he voted to let a Chinese company buy Hoosier farmland, putting China before us. Dan Darnell, opposing Trump, voting like a liberal, letting us down. A disgrace.
President Trump has endorsed conservative Trevor DeVries for state senate, a real Republican who will fight for Hoosier values. Trevor DeVries will stand with Trump, protect Hoosier farmland from China, defeat the liberal agenda, and never let you down. A true America First conservative. The right choice for Indiana. Endorsed by Trump, Trevor DeVries for state senate. Election day is May 5th. Paid for by American Leadership PAC.
My name is Jason Gore, and I'm asking for your vote to be Lake County's next sheriff. I was born, raised, started the family, and worked my nearly 30-year career in law enforcement, both as a local police officer and as an ATF agent, all here in Lake County. I promise to lead differently, restore the public's trust in the Sheriff's Department, and to build a world-class police organization that is focused on serving you. In this election, Lake County residents have a different choice.
All right, we're back. I'm not sure that I like the cynical sounding voice that's used in some of those ads. So what are we really up to? Oh well, doesn't matter. Hey, we'll be out of the political season for the spring, and we'll have a break through the summer, and then we'll start it all over again in the fall. But don't forget to vote. That's the most important thing next Tuesday. Early voting is on right now, so you have lots of opportunities to make sure and vote. And we all talk about how much we love this country, love this area. Well, you need to vote to make a difference. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got callers. Good morning. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, I got some good entertainment yesterday. Yesterday was very entertaining. Remember all the No Kings protests?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yes, I do.
You know, did you see those Democrats when that king walked into Congress yesterday?
Well,
I mean, they stood up and cheered for that son of a dog it was unbelievable. The hypocrisy in this country is just, it's unbelievable.
Well, you know what? It is and it isn't, because think about it. Congress has always been enamored, both sides of the aisle, with celebrities. And really, that's what King Charles is. He's a celebrity. He has no power. He has no real say. So, I mean, they treat him like he's, some important head of state, but in reality, he's just playing a role. He's playing king. He dresses up and, waves to people and puts on a crown, but he has no authority. But I agree with you. It is quite ironic that they would, they bash Trump and say no kings, and then a king shows up and they give him a standing ovation and huge applause. You're right.
Just go wild. They went wild for him. And, he is a king because those people are taxed to support that family and all his mansions everywhere and everything else. So, yeah, he takes from the people. He is a king.
Yeah, they spend about $2.5 billion a year supporting the monarchy. Now, I realize that it's great for tourism, but in reality, is it really worth spending that much money? I mean, why not just give somebody $1 million contract to play the king and cut the costs dramatically?
Yeah. And, the other thing I wanted to comment about, the shooting at the Correspondents' Dinner.
Yes.
Are you familiar with shotguns?
Yeah, I am. Very familiar.
Oh, okay. Then, Tom, most shotguns, typically they hold about 5 rounds. If you modify them, you could squeeze 8 rounds in a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
You ever see the movie John Wick?
Yeah, a long time ago I did, yes.
Okay, well, you see the scenes where Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry are ghost loading the shotguns. They grab 2 shells at a time, and they're just shoving them shells. It's called ghost loading. It's very hard to do, a lot of practice. Actually, Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry actually trained with real firearms to get all them skills down for that movie. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't, but I'm not surprised. I mean, I do remember the scene that you're talking about, and it was pretty impressive.
Yeah. So for this guy to go in that environment with a shotgun, John Wick couldn't have got through that place. So I think it was more of a suicide mission.
I think you're right. I think it was a suicide. It was a suicide mission, because if you read his manifesto that's been published, he largely, he jokes about the fact that when he said, I guess, to his parents that he was going on a job interview, that, his interview was for America's Most Wanted. I think you're right. I think he thought it was a suicide mission. Again, we're all lucky. We're all lucky, whether you love Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, we're all lucky that there was no assassination. Okay. Most likely, the people that probably would have gotten killed were correspondents, the people that were there. I mean, just look at the numbers. There's 2,000 correspondents there. There's 12 cabinet members there. There's the president and the vice president. If you do the numbers, who's most likely to get killed? Well, I mean, you get a guy that goes in.
Innocents.
Yeah, he's going to take out probably some of the very reporters that don't like the president. But no matter what, we don't need violence in this country. I am pleased with the few people that stood up and said we don't need this. John Fetterman has done a great job in taking the right position over this issue, but there are some real fools Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer and some of those people. I'd like to see them in person. And my first comment would be, how dare you make a mockery of this? How dare you make the comments that you've made? But again, what this also shows is, here's this guy from California, right? He is in the state that has some of the most stringent gun control laws in the nation. He buys these guns legally, and he travels all the way to Washington, D.C. to try and kill the president and others. And
that's another issue, Tom. How did he travel?
Well, he traveled by train, and I mean, train and
By
bus.
train?
Yeah, train and bus, they don't check for weapons. I mean, are you kidding me?
No, that's why they're building all these train stations around here. It's nothing going to be. It's going to be the drug funneling express over to Northwest Indiana from Illinois. I'm sorry, but that's what it's going to be.
Well, what I want to see is, I want to see the numbers about the South Shore. I want to see how many riders there are on the Westlake corridor and how many riders they lose on the rest of the run. Because from what I understand so far and from what I'm seeing is, a lot of the people who were driving to Hammond and to East Chicago are now getting on in Munster and Dyer. So those aren't new riders. Those are just basically riders that are transferring from one line to the other. That's all it really is. I don't think you're going to see a big increase in the overall number of riders to Chicago, but I obviously could be wrong.
I don't know nothing about riders, but I'll leave you with this. If you do go to take the train at one of these places, don't worry about a parking spot. You will find one. I guarantee it.
All right. Thank you so much. 845-1100. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Tom. Are you a lawyer?
No, I'm not. My brothers are, and my son is.
Okay. Well, are you familiar with this thing I've been hearing about lately? This Southern Morris Dees used to represent.
Oh, the Southern Poverty. Yes, I'm very familiar with Southern Poverty. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know your.
I think it's amazing that basically this has come out. Think about it. Basically, that the Southern Poverty, is it Leadership Center? I'm trying to think of the name of it. That they basically, for years, were helping to funnel Southern Poverty Law Center. Excuse me, I couldn't think of it. Southern Poverty Law Center. That they were funneling basically some of the very extremist groups that they say they were fighting against. And what it shows is it's all a sham, that they're handing money off to these extremist groups so that they can claim that they're fighting against them, and they were all basically, it was just a great big act. And it leads, again, it fuels the idea of conspiracy theories, because this is an organization that says publicly that they are so opposed to racism, and they're opposed to all these organizations, and they're giving them money, and they're giving them large amounts of money. And there are a lot of critics of the indictments, but I want to point out the indictments basically came from a grand jury. So a grand jury looked at it and said, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is not the Trump administration going after Southern Poverty Law Center. This is an indictment from a grand jury that says that this was totally wrong, and this is basically just a sham operation where they're funding the very organizations that they said were so evil. So I think again it shows in a lot of cases you just can't believe what you read and see anymore, and it's really scary, because I believe that people need to form their opinions based on facts and information, and a lot of people for many years basically relied on Southern Poverty Law Center to steer their opinions on things, and then you find out that they were in cahoots with the very groups that they said that they were there to fight.
Well, they changed, because I remember back in the day when Morris Dees used to represent them, and I remember he went after the Klan. And the one guy that was the head of the Klan, he had like a 400-acre farm and everything, and he took it. He took the farm, and he meant business. It really happened. Somewhere along the line, they what's the they said they were doing it and they weren't. I forget the word when you do the opposite of what you say you're going to do. And I couldn't believe when I heard that. I mean, it's like, wow, it's like, really, what's next,
Well, okay, it's, again, we live in a time where we find out that a lot of the things that we believe to be true aren't true. And I understand that how, it gives rise to conspiracy theories, and there's already these conspiracy theories out about what happened Saturday evening in Washington. I think that it's pretty obvious in this case that the shooter acted alone. He had issued, a manifesto explaining his reasons, which don't make any sense, but nonetheless, you have a cause and effect understanding of what he was trying to do and why he was doing it. And for people to believe that, this was all false, this is all made up, and it's all an act, is just wrong. But at the same time, then you see the Southern Poverty Law Center, and you read the indictment, and you say to yourself, well, what is real? What is real anymore? I mean, you would think that they would be beyond reproach. That
AI, now you got AI, right? And half that I read somewhere where only like I don't know, 20% of it isn't real. So
there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of false information out there, and it just makes it really tough for people to pick through and know what's true and what's not anymore, and that's problematic. So
all right,
hey, thanks so much for the call. 845-1100. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Yeah, hi. My name is Charlie. How are you?
Good, Charlie.
Do you realize that nothing is going to change? You can do this show for the next year or 2, 3, 5 years. Nothing is going to change. The liberals are going to stay the exact same way. Hey, do you remember when Maxine Waters, remember in 2018 where she encouraged her followers to get out in the streets and approach people in the Trump administration? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I absolutely do. I think that was a disgusting step on her part, and I think Maxine Waters, someone ought to investigate her, and they'd find out that, one, she doesn't really even live in her district, and two, her district's so gerrymandered is why, and two, she's a fraud. She's a fraud, basically from the moment she gets up until the moment she goes to bed.
But here's the beauty about what you're saying. People have been saying this for the last 5, 10 years. They're going to say the next 20 years. Nothing is going to happen. Here's what Maxine Waters said to the people that voted for her. Basically, if you see a Republican in the streets, if you see a white Republican, a black Republican, a woman and their kids, she said, these are exact words. If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd and you push back on them. Now, can you imagine if somebody said this about Barack Obama? Because he's got 2 daughters. Can you imagine if somebody said something sick like that? They said, hey, Republicans, if you see Barack Obama out in public with his family, with his loved ones, you get out there and you push back and you confront them. If you see Joe Biden's daughter or Joe Biden and his wife, you get out there and confront them. The liberal media would say these are the most racist Nazi people in the world. We got to arrest them. I don't get it. Nothing is going to change. And maybe I sound like a lunatic, but do you kind of agree with what I'm saying?
Well, no, I do. And look, one of the reasons why I host on Wednesday is because I truly view myself as a moderate. So Wednesday's the middle of the week. And I think there are problems on both ends. I think there's some extremists on the right. There's extremists on the left, although the facts speak for themselves. Okay, there are a lot more extremists lately on the left that are prone to violence. There are people like Maxine Waters, who, again, is just a scam operator, if you ask me. And, she has promoted the idea of violence. As you said, get in the faces of these people, go after their families, everything else. Yet if they did that to her, she'd be mortified. She would be out there claiming that it was a racial
racism.
It was a racial discrimination act. Right.
It's really because I'm looking at I put some stuff on online. I guess it happened to DHS Secretary Kirsten Nielsen. She was confronted. Stephen Miller confronted. But can you imagine Barry Hussein Obama, if he was having lunch at the Waffle House and a bunch of white Republicans confronted him and they stormed the restaurant and they're yelling and screaming at him, the United States of America would be on fire. Racist. This guy, I genuinely despise this individual. I genuinely despise him. Hey, can I give you another point that I noticed when he was in the White House? You know his mother was white, correct?
Yes.
You ever seen his white offspring in that environment? I think Michelle said, no honkies allowed. I didn't see one white person in that house with him. These people are disgusting. They're disturbing. I'm convinced that 90% of all liberals, they're very, very dangerous people. You know, I do think President Donald Trump, who I don't know the guy, obviously, I voted for him. If he died by assassination, I guarantee you, not one liberal would come out crying and saying, this is a travesty.
Well, I'll say this. Look, Barack Obama created a lot of hope for a lot of people. And I was one of them. When he ran for president, I felt this was going to end the racial divide in this country. As one friend of mine who was African American at the time said, and he's taken back those comments since, but he said to me, look, he said, you can vote for Barack Obama if you like him because he's black, and you can vote for him if you like him because he's white, because he's he had a white mother and a black father, and the point was well taken at the time. And the idea of bringing everyone together was the hope of Barack Obama, but it didn't happen. He did a lot of things to divide the country, and that was unfortunate. So I agree with you there.
Let me ask you this question: why is it there's so many, and the word is woke? I see some of these YouTube videos. I'm a fan of a few people online. They're Republicans. What is up with these older white people over age 70 out there holding up signs and protesting and saying Trump is this and this and this and that? Any idea where that comes from in their brains?
Yeah, you know what, I do. I think a lot of those people are basically children of the 60s, the 50s and 60s. You look at where those individuals were at, and when you see that they're out there protesting the No Kings rallies and some of those things, a lot of them have their roots basically in the 1950s and 60s, and you know they were agitators in the early 70s and basically have now retired and decided that they don't have to worry about their employer or about their their position in their community, and have gone back to kind of their old ways. I really do believe that. I think it is kind of comical that the very people who complain the most about Trump are the people like myself who got a huge tax deduction because I'm 65 or older, and I got a tax deduction on Social Security. So, you know, the very people who complain the most benefited the most. But, you know, when you figure out society, let me know. You'll be a billionaire.
Hey, can I say one last thing?
Sure, and then we've got to go to a break. Yes.
Hey, do you want me to call back again? Or
No. Go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
So I live in a neighborhood with lots of liberals, $1 million homes. I live in a converted garage. I don't have a lot of money. And they've all got these massive gates, security cameras everywhere. But they're liberals. They're Biden, Harris. But they've got all these, big ass gates everywhere. But you want but why do you have gates? I mean, you want the border open. Why do you have these walls around your house? Charlie,
how about this one? How about the perfect contradiction of all is Brendan Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, who talks about the fact that murder is not as bad as the news media makes it out to be. Yet there have been 122 murders in Chicago so far this year, and he spends millions upon millions of dollars for his 150-man security detail to keep him safe. How about that one? Hey, thanks so much for the call. We got to go to a break.
Last thing I'm going to say, I got to go. Okay, I'll take care.
All right, take care. 845-1100 is the number to call, but we're going to take a quick break. It's the Morning Call with Tom Dabertin on WJOB. We'll be right back.
I've spent more than 2 decades protecting the people of Lake County as a patrol officer, canine handler, detective, and now chief of police. I know what it takes to keep our neighborhoods safe, support our local police departments, and hold the sheriff's office to the highest standards. As your sheriff, I'll focus on strong training, crime prevention, and real partnerships with the communities we serve. I'm Stephen Flores. I'm ready to be a working sheriff you can trust, and I approve this message.
My name is Jason Gore, and I'm asking for your vote to be Lake County's next sheriff. I was born, raised, started the family, and worked my nearly 30-year career in law enforcement, both as a local police officer and as an ATF agent, all here in Lake County. I promise to lead differently, restore the public's trust in the Sheriff's Department, and to build a world-class police organization that is focused on serving you. In this election, Lake County residents have a different choice.
I'm Jerry Williams. For over 35 years, I protected Lake County as a state trooper and interim police chief of Gary. This is my home, and keeping our community safe has been my life's work. I've dedicated my career to fighting crime. Now I'm running for sheriff to get the job done and deliver real results. As a crime fighter, not a politician, I'd be honored to have your vote. Paid for by the committee to elect Jerry Williams for sheriff.
This is National Work Zone Awareness Week.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen an accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
All right, we're back, and I know we have calls, and again, you go back to the issue that Charlie raised about the Southern Poverty Law Center. It's amazing that the information that first came out came from banks that Southern Poverty actually dealt with. It was the banks that said, wait a minute, this can't be right. They're funneling money to the very organizations that they say they're fighting against, and it wasn't small amounts of money. It's a very intriguing story. But let's go back to the callers. We've got callers. So good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, Tom. You brought up an interesting subject, and I want to finish what you're talking about, Amoco. You're talking about Woodstock. And you're right. The same people, they were running around naked, smoking a bunch of dope, while us dirt bike riders were in the woods practicing for motocross. So the motocrossers ended up Republican, and Woodstock, I ain't going to say.
Well, think about it, MX. You and I grew up in a turbulent time. Okay, we grew up in the '60s and '70s, and there were all those people that were a little bit older than us. You're a couple of years older than me, but I'm talking about people that were, even older than us, who talked about that, how they were someday going to take a stand on this, that, or the next thing. And then reality sat in, and they basically found out that they couldn't do some of the things they wanted to do and say some of the things they wanted to say. And now they're retired, and they basically have time on their hands, and I think they're getting involved with issues that they believe are important. I don't necessarily agree with them, but I think that's where a lot of these protesters come from. When you look at their ages, they're in their 70s, and I just think that they're getting it out of their system.
Let's talk Amoco. I could end this strike at no time. This is a personal strike. I think if all them guys had Trump signs, were for Trump, and back off on the EPA, I think they'd be back to work. During the Biden administration, BP was fined very much if you just spit in the sky, Biden and our illustrious congressmen were throwing fine jets. You Google it on AI. This isn't about money. This is about revenge. You can't strangle manufacturing. You can't. I guarantee you, you could go out there with Trump signs and the other sign says, but back off EPA, those guys would be back to work. So what has happened here, with the difference that's happened here and NIPSCO, and I have to have Jim Slagle come on. From what I know right now, a lot of crafts are crossing the picket line except for the ironworkers. That's what I hear. I hear from good sources. So just standing out there, I really feel bad. I've been there. But this is, I think if you just, BP's getting back at the administration and they're punishing the workers. And the workers will sit there and they'll support Democrats, which means more fines for BP. Now, BP has the money to call these guys back.
Well,
and
hold on a second. Here's what's really troublesome. So BP, you live in Hessville, and you probably saw at least the sky lit up Sunday night. They had, the flaring off of different problems. They had a momentary power outage, which they've had several in the last few years that have led to these problems. For people in Whiting and Robertsdale, North Hammond, and East Chicago, they heard terrific amounts of noise. I mean, it just sounds like somebody with an air compressor in your ear. It's a deafening noise. You have all of the, concern. You see these flare stacks and you hear the sirens going off. But BP spent no amount of time letting the local community know. They didn't put anything on Facebook. They didn't reach out to Region News or the Times or anybody else, WJOB, and say, hey, we have problems and we're working on it. Nobody knew what was going on. And then you find out that the people that were in the plant were having to wear self-sustaining breathing apparatus, to basically, for their safety. But what about all the people outside that plant? What about the picketers that were on Indianapolis Boulevard? What about the people that live on Schrag Avenue or on some of the other streets right nearby the plant? Nobody bothered to tell them that, hey, there's some dangerous fumes out there. And BP just goes along their business. And now Gas Buddy yesterday comes out and says, oh, the price of gasoline in the Midwest is going to rise dramatically because BP had a power outage. So we're going to pay for it. And BP does nothing. People who have this false belief that BP Oil does all this great stuff for Northwest Indiana, you show me where. I can tell you what they give. I can tell you exactly what they give and where they give it. They're giving $5,000 reluctantly this year for the cost of one part of one concert for the Summer in the Symphony concert series in Whiting Lakefront Park. That's what they're giving money to. That's it.
This is called revenge. These guys at the top are slick. I'm telling you. And when you stand out there and you're supporting Democrats and the Democrats are going to find and strangle your business, they're going to get revenge. I'm telling you, I know this game. Someday read my book as The Godfather. What I seen at the mill, I can't say. And I'm going to go for breakfast. But I guarantee you, you go out there with Trump signs, we love BP. Back off EPA. You get your job back. Keep supporting the Democrats who are for the new Green Deal, who don't want fuel. And you tell me why you ain't got a job. You're cutting your own throat. I got to go, Tom. Take care.
All right, take care. 845-1100 is the number. We've got more callers. Let's go to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Well, thank God you're back, Tom. Sorry, I got a scratchy throat, but I think the morning sector of WJOB almost went down the tubes in your absence.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's good to be back. It's the first time I actually had to take a day off, and it just came up. It was one of those conflicts that you can't avoid, but it's the first time that I have not.
Or what?
I'm sorry?
You have diarrhea or something, or what happened?
No, I had a
tacos?
conflict. and I couldn't be here, and Jed agreed to sit in, and I appreciated that. And he interviewed the mayor, Mayor McDermott, and Mayor McDermott was going to come on with me, but he did the interview instead, and I appreciate Jed sitting in for me. And again, I very rarely do that. I'm always the guy that fills in for everybody else, but this time I couldn't avoid it.
Yeah, the McDermott interview was funny. It was good. Hey, Brad Gimble is going to call in and tell you why the Trump assassination attempt was totally fake. He says it's absolutely fake, and we're all suckers for believing that. I don't know why, though. But he'll call in and explain. Hey, but did you know that guy took the train, though?
Yeah.
All the way from L.A. to...
Yeah, he took the train.
You know what happened, though? What happened is he got to Chicago and had to transfer trains. He accidentally got on the South Shore, ended up in Dyer. He said his balls were tingling the entire time. He got to Dyer and got out. No coffee shop, no mansions, no development, and he had to wait 17 hours for another train to get him back. When he got to the Hammond station, he said he had to go up and down 45 flights of stairs, up and down, to find that train to get back, and he ended up in Michigan City.
You know what, Mad Mac? You prove that there's humor even in near tragic situations. It is kind of funny to claim that he transferred to the wrong train, but here's what's frightening is he took a train all the way across this nation, and nobody ever bothered to run him through a magnetometer to see if he had a gun. No, I mean, what if...
There's no magnetometers at any train stations anywhere.
But shouldn't there be? You get on a train and there's 100, 200 people on that train. You don't allow people to get on a plane with a gun. Why would you allow people to get on a train with a gun?
Because on a train, you can't blow a train up in midair. That's simple. I mean... Amtrak doesn't check for anything. I've gone across the country.
If you kill people in a plane or a train, what difference does it make? You're still committing murder. It's the tragedy, the possibility of a tragedy situation is there. I don't think that.
Can we do them on Ubers then too? You just can't do it all, bro.
No, but you do it. You do it when there's large gatherings. Look, if you go to the Lake County Courthouse, if you go to a concert, if you go to a sporting event, you go through those pieces of equipment. Why wouldn't you do it for a train? A train's got 100 people on it. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do the same thing wherever you have a large gathering of people?
How about a city bus in Chicago? The L?
Well, with
122
murders so far in Chicago this year, I'd say that's a good candidate. I mean, look, Chicago continues to be a cesspool. It is a dangerous situation, and people who say, "Oh, it's not that dangerous." Okay, well, there's 122 people that are already been killed in Chicago, including at least one police officer the other day, which is just adds tragedy upon tragedy, because you certainly don't want to see ever a law enforcement personnel be murdered. But the fact is 122 murders is insane.
You?
I'm sorry?
Does that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me.
That's what they do there.
It doesn't surprise me at all, but I'm saying that it's still very tragic. That's my point. It's a horrible situation.
Yeah, nobody cares. Southside, they don't care about.
By the way, did you read?
All the time, man.
Did you read the latest? Did you read the latest financial statement releases from BP Oil?
Financials in terms of.
Well, they released for the first quarter. They released for the first quarter. Just a quick aside. We don't have time to go into it today, but read that because it kind of proves that discussion you and I had about the profitability of their oil refineries. Read their latest statements, and you'll see what I was saying. They basically took a write-off for the fourth quarter.
They are in the business to make money, right?
I agree, but you said that they lost money on the refinery. They only lost money on that refinery last quarter because they took a huge write-off, and it's in this quarter's statements. Just read them. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the refinery is, not to say a loss leader, but it's part of their overall operation to produce oil and turn it into gas. And that, as a standalone unit, rarely makes money, okay? And by the way, when they had this little faux pas the last couple of days, they immediately alerted the EPA.
They alerted the EPA. My point, Mad Mac, my point is they didn't alert the community. There were thousands of people who sat up all night on Sunday. No, you weren't there.
The law says they should do.
But
they did what they're supposed to do.
Well, so basically, you sit near the refinery. You have to live with the noise. You have to live with the upheaval, and it's okay that they didn't bother to tell anybody, right? That's your view?
Was BP Oil there before you moved there, yes or no?
Well, BP Oil has been there since 1889, but that doesn't make it right.
So
hey, thanks a lot, Mad Mac. We got to move on.
You chose to live there.
All right, we got to move on. Take care. 845-1100 is the number to call. Do we want to take a quick break or take another caller?
I already answered.
You already answered?
Yeah.
Okay, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom. A couple of things real quick. First off, that BP thing with the events that happened recently. I know for a fact, as somebody that worked there, that almost 30 years ago, that the company had an offer to actually install a humongous PA system in and out of that refinery.
Yep.
To notify the community if there's any kind of problems.
I remember that. They were going to put a community awareness system in. Yep.
They put the kibosh on it because they didn't want to spend the money.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Look,
I know that for a fact, Tom.
And Mad Mac doesn't live there, and look, he's right. The refinery's been there for years, but that doesn't mean that the refinery should be able to create upheaval and impose and impact the community the way it did this past weekend. I mean, all they needed to do was post on Facebook. Okay, hey, we're having problems, folks. That's all they needed to do, but they're not going to do that. They're too busy. They're too busy putting those phony ads on Facebook where they interview the local banker who isn't anywhere close to being local about what they do for the community. Right.
Well, he's right about one thing. This they always did look at refining as a loss. The profitability in the oil companies is in a crude oil coming out of the ground. Once you go to refine it, it costs so god awful much to turn that into product. It's almost a losing proposition.
Look, Mad Mac's a good guy. He called me one day off the air and said that BP Oil always loses money at that refinery, and I said that's not true. They don't lose money, but they lost money in the fourth quarter last year because they wrote off a bunch of maintenance. That's what happened.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard for people to believe because I remember even before it was sold to BP that they sold off the entire north end of the refinery, the heavy oil section that produced everything from wax and motor oil, transmission fluid. They didn't look at it as a profit.
Right. In fact, they tore all that down. They ended up tearing down the heavy wax.
Right. And you would think everything comes out of there makes money, and it does. But the problem is, it like I say, it costs so much to turn it into product. The oil company's bottom line is crude oil. The leases to get this oil out of the ground is black gold.
Right.
Outside, it's just like a jeweler. If someone, it's the profit is in the gold. It's not in the jewelry you make out of the gold.
And you're right about that. If you compare the profitability of basically selling crude oil versus selling finished products from crude oil, you're right. There's a huge difference in the profitability. You're absolutely right about that. And Mad Mac made that point too, and he's right about it. But his point to me is that the refinery never makes a profit, and if you look at their profitability statement for the last quarter, it shows what happened in that fourth quarter where they took the write-off for a big maintenance project.
The other thing, real quick, on the SPLC, I think what's coming to light here now is that the SPLC, the whole point of this organization from Jump Street was to facilitate the myth that this is a deeply bigoted country, and in order to actually push it politically to the left, to get our culture more in line with the desire to actually turn this into a socialistic country. You have to keep perpetuating the myth that there's a bigot under every rock here, and that you need government oversight of all of the people in this country to make it turn it into some kind of socialistic Valhalla.
Well,
I think that's what the whole point of the SPLC was.
Well, the Southern Poverty Law Center, again, they claim one thing, but they did another. And what I find really interesting is that it was the banks that turned them in. It was the banks that saw the payments and saw the monies being funneled to the very groups that they say that they're opposing. And of course, Southern Poverty says, well, we needed to pay these people because they were informing us on what was going on. But the amounts of money they were paying leads you to believe that the grand jury is right on it, that those dollars weren't just being paid for informants. Those dollars were being paid to help prop up the very organizations that Southern Poverty was opposing, so that they could perpetuate their own situation.
Right. I think that goes back to Trump's Justice Department. They've got an environment now to where these banks know what's going on, and they're in an environment now where you can bring down indictments. Up until this time, both administrations on the Republican and Democratic sides has just had a hush and shush policy on this thing. I said, now with Trump, evidently the Justice Department is really interested in going after this. But again, you got guys like George Soros who brag about bringing down nations and manipulating currencies and that kind of thing, funding these organizations in order to actually push the world toward a leftist frickin' take. I think that's the whole point of all this.
Well, I want to jump back to what you said, which is I think that it's important to note that there's been, as many problems with the Justice Department under Republican administrations as there have been with Democrats. And by the way, I've not been a fan of the Justice Department under Trump 47 from the standpoint of they said, lawfare was wrong, and I agreed with them, and then they're using lawfare in certain cases too. So I don't think we've cleaned up DOJ the way we need to, but at least you're right. At least the banks, at least the banking institutions are being a little bit more forthright and not trying to cover over for some of the things that are going on.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I've been really disappointed too in what's come down on the Trump side through the second administration. Hopefully, this is a little indication things are going to change somewhat. But this is what people voted for. This what do you call it? This whole idea of cult of personality. The whole idea that Trump's going to be this white knight on a horse. I don't give a rip about Trump. I don't give a rip about Democrat, Republicans. We need people in this country that care about the people of this country and making it a better place to live. I don't care if Democrat or Republican.
We need to get back to the middle. We need to get back to the middle.
MAGA was make America great, not the Democrat or Republican Party.
We need to get back to the middle when it comes to politics. We're too far. We're on one extreme or the other, and not in the middle. And that's where we need to be, where we recognize that there are opposing views, and see if we can find some compromise on things, and also not compromise some basic, some basic standards and beliefs. And we're just all over the place these days, and it's frightening,
right. Well,
and
it's
discomforting.
Purposely done. You pit one against the other. That way you never get organized to find out who's really at the top, basically dumping on all of us. I mean, that's what this whole game is. It's as old as probably civilization, but we keep falling for it. I think the Founding Fathers didn't want political parties because it's nothing but organized crime.
Yeah.
I think that's all it really is.
I think when you look at Congress and the fact that they have all this insider trading information and all these people like all these politicians like Nancy Pelosi and everybody else in between making tens of millions of dollars off of insider trading, and if you did that anywhere else, you'd be in prison. I think it just gives us all a bad taste for government. So, hey, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Okay.
845-1100 is the number to call, but let's take a quick break. We're going to be right back. It's the Morning Call with Tom Dabertin. Don't forget, starting at 8:05, we've got some paid political interviews this morning.
My name is Jason Gore, and I'm asking for your vote to be Lake County's next sheriff. I was born, raised, started the family, and worked my nearly 30-year career in law enforcement, both as a local police officer and as an ATF agent, all here in Lake County. I promise to lead differently, restore the public's trust in the Sheriff's Department, and to build a world-class police organization that is focused on serving you. In this election, Lake County residents have a different choice.
I've spent more than 2 decades protecting the people of Lake County as a patrol officer, canine handler, detective, and now chief of police. I know what it takes to keep our neighborhoods safe, support our local police departments, and hold the sheriff's office to the highest standards. As your sheriff, I'll focus on strong training, crime prevention, and real partnerships with the communities we serve. I'm Stephen Flores. I'm ready to be a working sheriff you can trust, and I approve this message.
Hi, my name is John Patalis, and I am your Lake County Treasurer. Your Treasurer's Office is responsible for the collection of over $1 billion per year in money that belongs to you, the taxpayer. I am asking you for your support and vote on Tuesday, May 5, as I seek re-election to this very important financial office. For public service and not self-service, please remember me, John Patalis, for your Lake County Treasurer. Paid for by the committee to elect John Patalis.
I'm Jerry Williams. For over 35 years, I protected Lake County as a state trooper and interim police chief of Gary. This is my home, and keeping our community safe has been my life's work. I've dedicated my career to fighting crime. Now I'm running for sheriff to get the job done and deliver real results. As a crime fighter, not a politician, I'd be honored to have your vote. Paid for by the committee to elect Jerry Williams for sheriff.
This is National Work Zone Awareness Week.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware of where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
And by the way, that last ad about slowing down in construction zones, don't forget that Indiana now has the speed cameras set up in construction zones, and you can get a pretty hefty fine if you speed through. So if nothing else, if you don't want to save lives and protect people, be careful, because you'll get a heavy fine as well. 845-1100, we've got callers waiting, but I want to go to traffic and weather real fast. Again, looking in northwest Indiana, I-65, 8094, the toll road, and Klein Avenue all look pretty decent right now. Going across the line, it starts to back up the usual locations of Bishop Ford as it merges with I-57. However, once you get to the Ryan, it's pretty much now a backup all the way into downtown. So be careful there. Stevenson's also a backup all the way from Summit. The Eisenhower is pretty bad as well. Forget the Kennedy. 294 pocket backups, not the worst I've seen, but again, it's kind of slow going on the Illinois side this morning. Indiana is in pretty good shape. Let's go to weather, and we'll go back to the calls.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 54 degrees with highs of 56 and lows of 38. We'll be having some sun returning and should be cooler with a shower or two. Breezy this morning. And then tomorrow on Thursday, we'll be having highs of 53 and lows of 40 with times of clouds and sun with a shower in the area and should be cool. Then Friday, we'll be having highs of 49 and lows of 35 and should be mostly cloudy and cold.
All right, there you have it. Let's go back to the callers this morning. We've got a lot of callers, so good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. I love your program.
Thank you.
And I gotta tell you this, Tom, you're right on with these trains. If that guy could drive all the way across country on a train, every train, I don't care if there's 5 people on it, every life matters. There should be some kind of weapon detector to protect the people, in the same with buses, because you know as well as I know, there is a
a lot of cuckoo birds out there, and I just can't believe that guy made it that far with the weapon. And then secondly, I happened to see Congressman Frank Mervan, I think it was on Facebook, the Dog and Pony Show. If he can go on all those little shows and display like he really cares about VP Amico and the community, how come he never wants to come on your program?
Well, we've invited him before. He doesn't want to come on. I mean, I think it's kind of sad or little comical, but I guess he's afraid to come on with me. So, I mean, Congressman is welcome to come on, but the only caveat I have is if he comes on, he needs to take calls. He needs to take calls from you and everybody else. And that's why talk radio exists. And if he doesn't want to come on with me, that's fine. If he's afraid of me, I'm sorry I intimidate a congressman, but that's where basically it lies. He's welcome to come on. He knows me very well. I've got his cell phone number. He's got mine, and he knows how to get a hold of me. And I sent him a text recently. I also sent it to his communications director. They acknowledged they got it. Haven't heard back from him. I don't see him sitting here this morning, and that's okay. But, so enough on Frank Mervan. As far as the trains, though, and the buses, look, think about it for a second. If you go into a lot of city halls, a lot of town halls these days, they have metal detectors, right? You go into schools, they have metal detectors. You go to a sporting event, they have metal detectors. And why? Well, because there's the possibility, okay, albeit very small, there's the possibility that somebody could do harm to a large group of people that are gathered in those buildings. And then you have a train that has 100 to 200 people on it. That's a pretty good-sized gathering. You have a bus that has 40 or 50 people on it. That's a good-sized gathering. And we live in a day and an age where it's frightening sometimes. There are people that are out to do harm at all kinds of things. Look what happened north of Chicago three or 4 years ago with the parade. And the nut job that climbed up on top of a roof and shot at people. There are evil people out there, and we have the wherewithal to detect and to reduce the possibility of those dangers by detecting that the person has a gun if they go through a metal detector. I just think it's common sense, and I think that the Trump administration should announce very quickly that they're requiring metal detectors for trains now. I don't think it's an outrageous request.
I know at the hospital in Arizona here, we have a weapon detector at the front door because of one of the problems is with the that's going on with the world. Anybody could walk into a hospital and do harm. And here's another thing. One of the callers said, well, it's a train and what can it hurt? Well, I tell you what, especially in northwest Indiana, a train goes along a lot of the industrial areas. A train goes by BP Amico. Could you imagine some cuckoo bird detonating a train near an industrial like that would do so much harm? It's unbelievable. But you're right that we live in a society that we have to be on guard always. It's like locking your doors. You don't want to lock your doors, but you have to be safe. And everybody should have the right to be safe when they get any kind of public transit, whether it be a bus, a train. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, too, an Uber. If I'm an Uber driver, I'd want to make sure that something beats them before they get in my car, just for my safety and the safety of the people that I'm driving. And well, Tom, I got to tell you, we missed you last Wednesday, but Jed and Tom Mayor Tom. What a great show.
I heard it was a good show, but Steve, you brought up another point. Look, hospitals have metal detectors. Okay, hospitals are the place that people go to for in an emergency, right? For medical problems. Yet they have metal detectors because they're concerned about the safety and welfare of the people in the hospital. And it's a large gathering of people. So once again, if you can have a metal detector for a hospital, you can have it for a concert, you can have it for a city hall, you can have it for schools, why not have it for a train? I don't think that's unreasonable. And I think it would be a good move. And whether it's Amtrak or even if it is the South Shore, I think you need to put those metal detectors in and make people feel safe. It's just one less possibility. I mean, look, you were a firefighter for years. You didn't run into a fire without your turnout gear on, right? Because it protected
Absolutely
you.
not.
So why wouldn't you take that added precaution when it comes to trains to protect people from harm? It's just common sense.
You're absolutely right. And I remember when we first installed it, we got a lot of feedback. And I would sit and I'd tell people at the front door, I go, listen, we have to put these in. It's not only for your protection, but it's for our protection. And don't you want to come into a safe environment? Because so much has changed since 9/11, since the girl got her throat slashed on a bus. There's been people being slashed on Amtrak going through Michigan in a nice neighborhood. It happens. And when you first let your guard down is when you're going to have problems. Be more proactive.
Well, I'm fearful for all the crazies that heard about what this guy did and now said, oh, wait a minute, I can get on a train and do harm. Okay, they heard about the fact that he got from California to Washington and he never went through a metal detector, and there are crazies out there who basically they're looking for that next opportunity, and it worries me that they're going to look at it. I just think, again, metal detectors make sense. They're part of society. You go into buildings in downtown Chicago, you go through them. They're everywhere. Why not have them in the train station as well? Hey, Steve, thanks so much for the call. Always great talking to you, my friend. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. How are you, sir?
Great. How are you?
I am well. Hey, your conversation about why all these older white liberals are protesting kind of triggered a thought I had about a Hollywood theme, the white savior complex. Do you remember the TV show The White Shadow?
Yes, I do.
I went down a rabbit hole once because I was like, is this unique to American culture? Does this, how deeply does this trope run? If you did a search, you'd be amazed at how many heroic white teacher or coaches teach underprivileged kids in the movies. It's amazing. I have to believe it's something that this generation that's a little bit older than you and I, really grew up to believe that they had to be the white hero. I mean, that's really what I see with these aged protesters right now. It's really pathetic that the Democrats, outwardly expressed, the view of their party is these aged white, hippies who are essentially, I think they're all racist because they think that they have to help all these minorities that are, downtrodden by us white racist, supremacists.
Well,
I don't know. What do you think of that?
There were a lot of people. Again, the White Shadow. I still remember Ken Howard, and to me, not a really good actor. Kind of played a stiff, coach and teacher, if you will. But your point is well taken. I really believe that there are a lot of individuals who grew up in the 60s and 70s. And said, yes, I feel that call to action. And they had some very liberal views back then. One of the things, let's face it, the baby boomer generation said was, when we get in power, we're going to legalize marijuana. Well, we sure did that, okay? We did a lot of dumb things, actually. In fact, what we've done is created massive debt for every generation to follow us that has to basically now pay down. But we did a lot of dumb things, but for a lot of individuals, they went to work and found out that they couldn't share their views and they couldn't take those views public, and so they waited until they retired. And now all of a sudden they're coming out and they're basically saying, "Oh, wait a minute, we can do what we want now because we're basically on a fixed income and we've got nothing else to do. We're not working, and so we're going to take these social stands, if you will." And I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. They don't have anything else to do. They need to get part-time jobs and look at what they're doing and say, "Wait a minute, our track record as a generation has been pretty bad." I apologize.
I think they have found. I think they have found part-time jobs. The Soros's and the Democratic Party NGOs are paying them, I'm sure.
Look,
In fact,
I know
there's been
somebody
videotape of people who say that they are.
I know somebody who jumps on a plane every time they have a No Kings rally, they go to Washington. Well, I have to take my stand. It's like, for what? Oh, Trump is bad. And I'm like, okay, but you're over 65. You just got you got a big tax deduction. You got you get Social Security, you got another tax deduction. And the answer is, well, I earned that. Okay, but nobody else gave it to you until Trump. What do you mean? They're protesting against the big beautiful bill, saying how horrible it is, and then they tell me, oh yeah, well, I got $12,000 in tax deductions. And it's like, wait a minute, what are you protesting? You're protesting against the very guy that gave you the $12,000 in tax deductions that you said you were entitled to? I mean, is that not a contradiction?
Speaking of those tax deductions for retirees, there's a bill pending right now that would eliminate the income. Like you can only make so much income if you're not full retirement age, right?
Right.
They're trying to eliminate that now. That's a new bill going through, and I know it doesn't affect everybody, but it doesn't really make sense to me that you limit the income of people who've decided to retire and take their Social Security benefits. I mean, why would you want them to it's almost poverty wages is what they're basically limiting you to.
Well, it doesn't make sense. I mean, and by the way, that you're right. I have a friend that works at a local hardware store. He and I went to grade school and high school together. He is a great store clerk, but he's now limited to the number of days that he can work, because if he works too much, then he has to give back 50% of his Social Security. That just makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, he also taxed higher on it as well.
Right, and look, you earn Social Security, enjoy it, and if you want to supplement your income and go to work and fill a job that a lot of people otherwise either don't want or couldn't take, because in his case he's got great experience and knowledge. So you want to have a guy like that. I mean, let's face it, Mon, if you go to the hardware store and you say, hey, I've got this problem, you want somebody that can answer the question and not say, I don't have a clue. But he can't work a full-time schedule because otherwise he's got to pay back part of his Social Security. That's just stupid.
Yeah. And, I realize, I understand the history of why that law was implemented, because at a time, like the time it was started, there were so many people still working that they were trying to make room for all these baby boomers coming into the job market. It sort of made sense to me at that time, but now when you have low unemployment and they can't find enough qualified workers, it really doesn't make sense. And yeah, I don't really understand that. I don't think that they've increased that. It hasn't kept up with inflation for sure. The increases in the minimum income that they've set with that law. So I think it's time that to be.
You're right. They should get rid of it. Look here, when I'm down in Florida, I go to the dog park, and every morning I see a bunch of guys and ladies that I know, and we're all there with their dogs together. And there are a number of them who grouse about the fact that, I've got a part-time job. I work 2 days a week. My employer wants me to work 3 or 4 days, but I can't because I have to be concerned about having to pay back Social Security. I heard that same story 2 or 3 times. There's a guy that drives one of these electric vehicles. It's a free service. They pick you up and drop you off wherever you want to go within Pompano Beach. And he only works 2 days a week, because if he works more than that, then he's got to pay back part of his Social Security. And he loves doing it. He says, look, I just enjoy driving the vehicle and getting to meet people. Yeah. And, he's not doing it really for the money, but he can't work more than 2 days because he's got to pay back Social Security.
You're also touching on the isolation of seniors who are, forced not to work. I mean, a lot of people would want to work. I guess they could do volunteer work, I guess, if they want to socialize. But, I don't think it's a healthy law all around. So anyway, I'm glad they're looking at it. I think, yeah. All right. And one final thing, I just want to point out that the reason Congressman doesn't want to come on your show is because it's not curated. his staff wouldn't be able to pick out who's going to ask the questions and what the questions are going to be. So he's a coward, and he's not all that intelligent.
Well, again, I think it's sad. I hope he changes his mind, but we'll leave it at that. Hey, thanks so much for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. I will just say this, folks. There's something going on this morning, and I'm not totally sure what yet, but there seems to be some local news that's going to break, and so just stay tuned. Not totally sure of all the details, but seems like something is afoot. 845-1100 is the number to call. Do we want to take another break, or do we want to go to the callers?
We have no more callers right now.
Oh, good. Okay. No, I don't mean good. I mean that, look, I love taking calls, so feel free to call in. I didn't mean it that way, but I did want to just kind of catch up on a few things that we've been talking about this morning. I mean, Mont brought up a great point about this limitation on how much you can earn when you're on Social Security. They phase it out over time, but for a lot of people who retire at 65, they're impacted by it. And Steve and others brought up this issue about my belief that I share with them, that there are a lot of people who grew up in the baby boomer generation who now are in their 70s and late 60s, and they're the ones who are showing up to a lot of these rallies and protests, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And again, all I can say is that maybe it was suppressed feelings that they're getting out of their system now when they're older, and that's their prerogative. But I think we have some real problems in this country, and we're not focused on the problems. We're focused on the wrong things. I mean, after all, think about it. We had a gathering in Washington of over 2,000 journalists on Saturday evening, plus 12 members of the cabinet, a number of congressional leaders, and then the president and the vice president of the United States. And this nut tries to go in there and basically was going to kill people. And you can say, well, he was just aiming at Trump. Well, if you go in a crowd like that, most likely you're not going to hit Trump. You're going to hit everybody else. And there could have been a tragic loss of life, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. When you look at those kinds of situations, it should never happen. There should have been more security. I agree with the critics who say that the Hilton Hotel should have had better security. The Secret Service should have had a larger perimeter. But again, we avoided a tragedy, and then people to believe that it was all made up. That's really sad too. Let's take a quick break. It's the Morning Call with Tom Dabertin on WJOB 1230 and 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
My name is Jason Gore, and I'm asking for your vote to be Lake County's next sheriff. I was born, raised, started the family, and worked my nearly 30-year career in law enforcement, both as a local police officer and as an ATF agent, all here in Lake County. I promise to lead differently, restore the public's trust in the Sheriff's Department, and to build a world-class police organization that is focused on serving you. In this election, Lake County residents have a different choice.
I've spent more than 2 decades protecting the people of Lake County as a patrol officer, canine handler, detective, and now chief of police. I know what it takes to keep our neighborhoods safe, support our local police departments, and hold the sheriff's office to the highest standards. As your sheriff, I'll focus on strong training, crime prevention, and real partnerships with the communities we serve. I'm Stephen Flores. I'm ready to be a working sheriff you can trust, and I approve this message.
Hi, my name is John Patalis, and I am your Lake County Treasurer. Your Treasurer's Office is responsible for the collection of over $1 billion per year in money that belongs to you, the taxpayer. I am asking you for your support and vote on Tuesday, May 5, as I seek re-election to this very important financial office. For public service and not self-service, please remember me, John Patalis, for your Lake County Treasurer. Paid for by the committee to elect John Patalis.
I'm Jerry Williams. For over 35 years, I protected Lake County as a state trooper and interim police chief of Gary. This is my home, and keeping our community safe has been my life's work. I've dedicated my career to fighting crime. Now I'm running for sheriff to get the job done and deliver real results. As a crime fighter, not a politician, I'd be honored to have your vote. Paid for by the committee to elect Jerry Williams for sheriff.
This is National Work Zone Awareness Week.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
All right, we're back, and Mark from Hobart, just a shout out to you, sir. You always send me some nice text messages. So, yes, it is Hump Day, and thanks for thinking of me and everybody else. 845-1100 is the number to call, talking about all kinds of things this morning. But I'm going to tell you, folks, there is something going on this morning. I have a feeling there's some news to follow. So just stay tuned a little bit longer, but there's some things going on this morning. 845-1100, and we've got more callers. Good morning. You are on the air.
As a way to induce Mr. Mervan to come on WJOB Airways, have you considered offering him this rules of engagement, we'll call it that, and that is that the caller has got to start with a question. They start running their mouth, cut them off. Next caller. Every caller has got to start with a question. No excuses, no stories.
We've done that, but Walt, we've done that. In fact, I've done that with you before when we've had candidates on and they take calls or politicians. When the mayor's been on before, for example, when Rick Reif has been on, we've limited callers just to asking questions. But you know what? I'll tell you what. I probably have some old Beanie Babies down in the basement that the dogs haven't found. I'll give him a few of those too. So there you go. But look, he's not a bad guy. I've said that before. I don't understand why he wouldn't want to come on with me. He knows me better than a lot of the people that sit here. But it's up to it is totally up to Frank Mervan to come on, and if he wants to come on, great. If he doesn't come on, that's okay too. It's just totally up to him. There is some report about that the FBI is actively and the Indiana State Police are conducting some activity at Northwest Indiana restaurants this morning. The Paragon restaurant in Hobart, for example, was raided. And there's also a presence at Gino's Steakhouse in Maryville. So that's all we have right now. But there is something afoot, and there are some raids going on this morning, and that's the most current information that I've got is that the Paragon in Hobart and Gino's in Maryville are two sites that there's activity by federal agents and state police. Don't know a lot more than that, but as it breaks, we'll let you know what's going on.
The Paragon, isn't that a Greek-run place on Route 6?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. I'm pretty sure that's where we're talking about. And
I've eaten there many times. It's a good place, great food and a good service, and gee, I hope there's nothing seriously bad going on there, so they didn't close the place down. Paragon's a good restaurant.
Well, so is Gino's, and basically, my thought is are they targeting the restaurants, or are they targeting people in the restaurants? So I don't know. There's when news breaks like this, you have to be careful because you don't want to give false information. I want to give as accurate information as possible. It was confirmed that the Paragon is the one on Ridge Road. I've been there a long time ago, so it took me a little while to remember exactly where it was. And then Gino's in Maryville, which I've been to quite a few times. In fact, I'm supposed to go to lunch there today with someone, so I'm not sure I'm going there. That's really interesting. I just checked and confirmed. My schedule says today lunch at Gino's at 12 noon, so I don't know. But again, don't know the details of what's going on right now. There's police activity. The FBI and state police are at 2 Northwest Indiana restaurants. There are rumors of some additional activity, but can't confirm any of that. So we'll just stick with what we can confirm. And it is at Paragon and at Gino's Steakhouse. So don't know the details
That's a
yet.
great steak place.
I'm sorry?
I remember I used to live in Illinois many years ago, and I think Gino's started out in Harvey, and it was a great steak place. And then I don't know whether they were bought out and moved it to Indiana, or the same family decided to move from Harvey to Indiana. But wow, that's startling news.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's
interesting. It's interesting that you've got 2 restaurants being hit simultaneously, and I don't know the reasons why, and we're going to find out, I'm sure, in very short order. But there's some rumors. There's some rumors flying this morning that there is some additional activity underway, and I don't want to. I certainly don't want to reveal anything that is going on until it's done, and I also don't want to give false information. So I'm getting a lot of information this morning, but what we do know is that 2 restaurants have been raided by the FBI and by the Indiana State Police, and those restaurants, Paragon in Hobart, and the other one is Gino's. And somebody did say that they believe that those were franchises. So.
Woo.
But something's afoot. Something's afoot.
Oh, absolutely. We're waiting to see.
Let me ask you, Walt. You're a very learned individual. What do you believe? What do you think about my theory that a lot of these protesters that are in their 70s basically are individuals who grew up in the 50s and 60s and 70s, the baby boomers, if you will. And now they're retired and they're getting their right to protest out of their system because they spent many years working and weren't able to protest. They were afraid they'd lose their jobs and they had families to raise. And now that they're retired, they figured, go for it and they're going to protest.
Yeah. I made a point when this No Kings thing cropped up. I drove around just to take a close look at who's doing the marching, and I was surprised to see the large numbers of older people from that 60s, 70s generation, saving the world and etc. And I could, there's a lot of things you can do as a senior that's constructive in terms of being a volunteer at your church, volunteer at the local hospital, volunteer at the local library. There are conferences here in Northwest Indiana that features volunteer opportunities. As a senior, it's doing volunteer work is really good for your health. And there's evidence to prove that, and so there's no reason to be out there on the street rabble rousing. And there's the things you can do as a constructive volunteer that really supports the community. And why people don't do it is I don't know. I do it. I do lots of it.
Well,
when I retired.
It's great to talk about volunteerism, and there's so many, as you said, there's so many opportunities and so many great causes and places that you can make a difference. But some of these people, instead of going and volunteering at a food pantry or at a soup kitchen or one of those locations, helping out at their church, they choose to go out and protest. And again, I just think they want to get it out of their system that it's been pent up for all these years. I have friends who told me years ago that when they got older, they were going to do just that. And I've seen a few of them out there basically at these rallies and these protests. And I guess it's fine. But as you said, wouldn't it change the world a lot more if you helped somebody get some food or get some clothing or help in a very positive direction? I mean, protests really don't get you a lot. So, hey, Walt, thanks so much for the call. We got a few more callers, and we're going to go to paid political shows. So we've got 2 more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dad.
Good morning.
Hey, just wanted to call in. I was thinking about, it was 2 phone calls ago where you were talking about your generation and protesting and how you said your track record wasn't very good and all that. And I just thought it was pretty ironic that you started the conversation saying that, and then by the end of it, you're talking about how, but also you guys want more Social Security benefits or be able to make more money while collecting Social Security.
Yeah, it's a contradiction. It's a contradiction.
To someone in my generation, we've been hearing nothing our entire lives, but there's no money. It's going to go broke by mid-2030. So, there's a contradiction there. I thought that was ironic.
Well, it's a great point, Tom. My generation, the baby boomers, are leaving your generation, and Lynette and everybody else in your age group, we're leaving you with massive debt. We're leaving you with a system that's at some point just going to fall apart, which is Social Security. We've created a lot of problems, and to be honest with you, if I had to sum up my generation, I'd say we just owe everybody else an apology because we've messed things up as much as we've improved them. We had a lot of promise and lots of ideas, and we didn't go through with them. And now my generation's getting older, and they've got the idea that they're going to go out and protest things, and usually they're protesting based on false information and not the facts.
Yeah, I'm curious what your generation, I mean, you guys are the ones in power still for a while, but, how do we fix the Social Security problem that, everybody acknowledges and says, well, you guys are going to be on Social Security, is it a program is it going to be saved? Is it going to be, how's that going to navigate those waters?
Well, I mean, we should.
Your generation on Social Security.
We should.
And then being one of the biggest voting blocks.
Right. Well, we should allow for a personal investment alternative, like a 401k. We should allow for that. We should, we could have fixed the health insurance system years ago. We've talked about it since the 1970s. We haven't done very well there. People say, "Oh, no, health insurance has only been an issue for a few years." Really, health insurance has been an issue all the way back to the 1970s. We've basically kicked the can on a lot of things just down the road and left it for you guys to unravel. And now you're going to have $38 trillion of debt to figure out too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. nice gift to you. Nice
point
gift.
Out the contradiction there.
Right. Nice
yeah,
gift.
Thank you.
Nice gift to give your generation. So, hey, thanks so much for the call.
Yeah. Thanks. No problem. Bye.
All right. Take care. 845-1100 is the number. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom. How's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Great to hear you back in the studio.
Yep, I'm back. I'm glad to be here.
I have a theory. This past weekend, Bo Duke, John Schneider himself, actually posted on Facebook that he and his lovely wife are taking a cross-country trip right now, and they're hitting all of the states that begin in the letter I. He posted a picture from Gino's Steakhouse in Maryville. True story. So I think this is actually Boss Hogg looking for them Duke boys.
That's funny. Is that really true?
It's true. Yeah, he was in town this past weekend. and he posted a picture from the Geno's in Maryville.
So John Schneider,
it's not like a publicity. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
John Schneider was at Geno's Steakhouse this past weekend, and now there's police activity there. Well, that's very funny.
Yes, sir.
That is very funny.
Roscoe Pico Train and Boss Hogg are all there, and yes, sir.
You would never ever be able to have that kind of stupid humor on television these days. I mean, that was just stupid humor, right? I mean, Dukes of Hazzard was just a dumb show, but it was funny as could be.
I agree. Great TV to grow up with.
Yeah, the closest thing I've seen to a television show that's just stupid humor is a show called Stumble, which I've mentioned before is now basically done for the season, but it's about a cheerleading coach who basically gets kicked down from D1 down to just like a local community college, and she wants to claw her way back up, and she's got this group of misfits that are supposedly cheerleaders at this community college. It's very, very funny, and watch it if you can find it. The other one is Best Medicine, is fairly quirky and funny. It reminds me of the old Northern Exposure, but Dukes of Hazzard was just, there was no redeeming quality. Right? None at all. It was just stupid humor. I mean, Boss Hogg, and what was the woman, the woman character that always wore the short shorts? What was her name?
Daisy Duke. Daisy Duke. That was
Catherine Bach or something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember her name. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you never remember a name like that. No. But it was just stupid, right? I mean, and I don't think Catherine Bach actually was a very good actress. I don't think she could act at all. I mean, she just kind of stand there with her, wearing her shorts and like, oh, she just have like a line. Okay, now you're supposed to say, oh, and she go, oh, and that was it. And they show her in the shorts, and then I mean, it was just stupid, but it was funny. It was a funny show. But
I was thinking the same thing.
Wow,
I was thinking her only line was, "Hi, boys."
Yeah, that's right. Hi, boys.
And
then she'd be like leaning up against the bar, and every so often there'd be a scene where, she'd basically put her foot up on something, and show off her legs. I mean, it was, again, stupid humor, but it was entertaining when it was on, and I just think the irony of the fact that John Schneider took a trip with his wife to states that began with I, and he ends up at Geno's Steakhouse this weekend in Maryville, and now there's police activity. I think you're right. It's Boss Hogg. It's Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane. They're getting revenge somehow. That's very funny.
If I can find the post, I'll forward it to you.
Oh, please. That is hilarious. I mean, wow. Yeah. But as far as we know, there's some activity. There's some police activity involving the FBI and the state police, and it's at Paragon Restaurant in Hobart and also at Geno's Steakhouse in Maryville. We don't know the details. We don't know if it involves the restaurants or people at the restaurants. We don't know the details. We just know that there's some activity going on right now. And we've got some more callers, so I'm going to move forward. Thank you so much.
Hey.
Yes, go ahead. Oops, sorry. I'm sorry we lost you. We'll go to the next caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, you know why you don't know what's going on?
Why?
Is because this station is, Judd keeps cutting, right? Why don't you have boots on the ground? We're in a major metropolitan area. This station should have somebody over there right now reporting live. We had 49,000 people out during the storm. We had no local coverage of on-the-scene stuff in St. John or wherever the trees were down, seeing how things were progressing, talking to the local linemen, talking to NIPSCO, seeing what's going on. I know that Judd touts the station as being very progressive, and he's cutting jobs. But just like in politics, you go either too far to the right, too far to the left. I don't know why there is no boots on the ground and local coverage. Can you explain that to me, Tom?
Sure, I can explain it because if you look at the Times and you look at a lot of news organizations, it's being it's just very difficult these days financially to have those boots on the ground. There are organizations like Region News Source, and I bring up Paul Goddard and Region News Source all the time. They do a phenomenal job. They have almost instantaneous information and news coverage and
live feeds.
Well, a lot of times
live
they do.
Feeds?
They have people. For example, I've seen.
But why? You know what? This is a local radio station, a licensed local radio station. Why doesn't he have boots on the? It's just, you've got a great platform here, and I think if you expanded that coverage, that you would have people watching live all the time.
Well, I think it's always a consideration, but I also believe that there is a cost, and it's somewhat cost prohibitive to have some of those kinds of structures.
Yeah.
I mean, citizen news forces.
I think you would.
Well, here, citizen news forces have been popular. Okay, so Region News largely works on that premise. Fox Chicago basically has relied on some of that as well, where they'll take video shot by, just local residents and send that information. And I think that you have to look at how how the news has evolved and making sure that it's just, again, it's a changing perspective. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and I wish we could do some of the things that used to be done here, but I think that's just cost prohibitive. You have a very good point, but I think if we partner with, Region News Source, just as an example, or the Times to get that information instantaneously, that's the best way to do it. So I appreciate your point.
Yeah, but one more point is, okay, the storm's coming through, and I turn on WJOB, right? I'm thinking maybe they're going to have information about outages, and I think it's just a natural reaction. Just like if there's a major event, you would pop on, a Chicago radio.
No, I agree with you. That's where we could be more helpful. I agree with you there. But you know what? I like to turn Jim Dietlow into Jimmy Olsen. Remember Jimmy Olsen from the Superman series? Yeah. We can give Jim Dietlow a little camera, and he can be our Jimmy Olsen on the scene, cub reporter. But again, he just walked by and looked at me like, okay, Dabertin, I have had enough of you today. He's going to be pulling the plug on this broadcast in a second. But seriously, I think you're right about the weather. And I know Jed's working on some ideas where we might be able to not even have to have somebody at the station, where he can log in remotely and give those kinds of updates when those kinds of weather tragedies hit. So he is working on some stuff, and I'll say this much. He's out of the room now, so I can say this. Jim's a visionary. He's got a lot of ideas, and he's got a lot of ideas on how to make things better. So stay tuned for that, okay?
All right, thanks, Tom.
All right, thank you. We are coming up on 8 o'clock, and I think it's time for us to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to be doing, I guess we can do traffic and weather real fast, and then we'll do the paid political shows, right? All right, so you're listening to WJOB, 1230 AM at 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana. And it's the morning call, and we'll be right back after these commercial announcements.
My name is Jason Gore, and I'm asking for your vote to be Lake County's next sheriff. I was born, raised, started the family, and worked my nearly 30-year career in law enforcement, both as a local police officer and as an ATF agent, all here in Lake County. I promise to lead differently, restore the public's trust in the Sheriff's Department, and to build a world-class police organization that is focused on serving you. In this election, Lake County residents have a different choice.
I spent more than 2 decades protecting the people of Lake County as a patrol officer, canine handler, detective, and now chief of police. I know what it takes to keep our neighborhoods safe, support our local police departments, and hold the sheriff's office to the highest standards. As your sheriff, I'll focus on strong training, crime prevention, and real partnerships with the communities we serve. I'm Stephen Flores. I'm ready to be a working sheriff you can trust, and I approve this message.
State Senator Dan Darnell was supposed to be different. He promised to fight for Hoosier families and stand with President Trump. He failed. Darnell voted against President Trump's agenda in Washington. That hurt Hoosier families, and he voted to let a Chinese company buy Hoosier farmland, putting China before us. Dan Darnell, opposing Trump, voting like a liberal, letting us down. A disgrace.
President Trump has endorsed conservative Trevor DeVries for state senate, a real Republican who will fight for Hoosier values. Trevor DeVries will stand with Trump, protect Hoosier farmland from China, defeat the liberal agenda, and never let you down. A true America First conservative. The right choice for Indiana. Endorsed by Trump, Trevor DeVries for state senate. Election day is May 5th. Paid for by American Leadership PAC.
This is National Work Zone Awareness Week.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
All right, folks, we're back, and real fast we'll do traffic and weather, and then we're going to do a recorded paid political program with Steve Flores, candidate for Lake County Sheriff, and this was recorded the other day with Jed Dietelo, and then at 8:35 we'll be back to do a live interview with another candidate. There is a I just had this given to me by Region News Source. There is an FBI-led multi-agency operation and court-authorized law enforcement activity that's occurring in multiple locations in northwest Indiana. There's no known threat to the public. As this active investigation continues, the FBI is unable to provide further details at this time. That is the most recent information we have about what's going on this morning. Again, it's an FBI-led multi-agency operation and court-authorized law enforcement activity that's occurring at multiple locations in northwest Indiana this morning, according to the FBI, courtesy of Region News Source. Real fast, traffic doesn't look bad in northwest Indiana, 80-94, I-65. The toll road, Klein Avenue, all in good shape. Going across the line, if you're on the Bishop Ford, you're going to be fine till you get to the merge with I-57, and then from that point all the way into downtown is a solid backup. Solid backups on the Kennedy, the Eisenhower, and the Stevenson as well. And there are also backups on 294. So good luck getting into the city. Might try Lakeshore Drive. Looks like it's not too bad. Otherwise, let's talk weather, and then we'll get right to the paid political show.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 55 degrees with highs of 56 and lows of 38. We're going to have some sun returning. Should be cooler with a shower or two, then breezy this morning. Then tomorrow on Thursday we'll be having highs of 53 and lows of 40 with times of clouds and sun with a shower in the area and should be cool. And then Friday we'll be having highs of 49 and lows of 35 and should be mostly cloudy and cold.
All right, there you have it. We're going to do the paid political show, and then we'll be back at 8:30.
Steve Flores, running for sheriff. How you doing?
I'm great. Great. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
Yeah, I've got young talent here running things, and I would normally be at yoga, but right now, but I had to come in and handle some of this stuff. But yesterday, we did have some discussion with the mayor of Hammond. He's the campaign manager for one of your main opponents in the sheriff's race. And before I talk about any specifics, I just want to know, what the relationship is like right now amongst several really good candidates. I mean, you guys are all going to the same things. I've asked other ones, hey, do you mind going next to this guy? You go, oh, no, we're all getting along. And I'm like, hey, this is Lake County Sheriff's race. How in the hell is that happening?
No, you're absolutely right. The relationship have been great. We made a decision at the very beginning of this when we all started that, hey, we all have known each other for a long time. We've worked with each other. Every one of them I've worked with just about. I worked with Jason several times on many homicide cases with the Major Crimes Task Force, Deputy Chief Jenkins, Major Williams. So we've known each other a long time. And we all made a promise to each other that when we started this, that we're going to keep it cordial. We're going to keep it professional because we're all friends. We're not going to sling mud at each other. Just go out there, run on our platform and what we believe in, and hopefully, get across the finish line that it stays that way. And it has been. And we're lucky. And we've said it several times at many of the candidate forums how we wanted to make sure that we showed an example of what a campaign and what an election should be like, without any mudslinging and stuff like that. So, and everyone's held true to that, and hopefully it stays that way. But we're all friends, and we just run on what we believe in.
So you guys are going around to the various candidate forums and running into each other, and you've got Paul Aguilera running yours. Gore's got McDermott running his. Jerry Williams has Dominguez running his. The only my observation there is that you and Gore and Williams and Jenkins and Trakovich, I could see that. You're all cops. This is my job. That's what I got to do, right? We are blessed right now in Lake County to have so many good candidates that are law enforcement people.
Sure.
But you guys aren't necessarily political people, and behind each one of you, there kind of is. And so I just wonder if maybe at a different level that like some of this is surfacing, because I know Roy Dominguez for 40 years and McDermott for 30 years. These guys want to squabble. They want to squirm. They want to make people squirm, and they want to stir it up. Paul Aguilera's been in a lot of campaigns for you, and he's got, but behind you guys, people are there that I got to believe want to mix it up a little bit. How are you guys able to keep it on the plane where it is right now? It's kind of boring, to be honest with you.
That's a good thing. We made that promise with each other, and the candidates are the ones that run the campaigns, and we set the tone on how we want our people to act. And I think that's held true for all of us. There was some differences in the past, with between the mayor and my family, which he talked about yesterday. But him and I spoke a while back and said, you know what, that's behind us. It is what it is. That's water under the bridge. Let's move forward. And I see him all the time, and my family sees him all the time, my brothers and my cousin, and it's cordial. We're professional. We talk to each other. We laugh. I wished him luck on getting the Bears to Hammond because I know that's what he wants for his residents, and it's exciting for Hammond. So it's been professional, and that's the way we want to keep it. And I think, he's held true to that, and all the other campaigns have too.
So I guess in the political circle, what are they looking at? Like 18% of people voting or something in that area?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, roughly in that number. I think 15% of them, the first thing they talk about is the kind of rift between the Flores family and McDermott and his supporters.
Mm-hmm.
That has, I'll just ask you directly, is there anything you want to comment on that further than what you've already said?
No, it's, again, we've been brought up that, if there's differences in the past, you put it behind you, move forward. Because at the end of the day, what good does it do if you're out there fighting and mudslinging? And that's, we got to set the tone and set an example for everybody else under us. We're out there in the political limelight. People are seeing us out there every single day, and it does no good if we're out there acting that way and slinging mud at each other. It doesn't work. It's not a good image. And far too long in Lake County, that's been the norm. And that's what some people want. Unfortunately, that's not what they're getting with us, and they don't like it. So.
Well, I mentioned 3 people behind the candidates. And then, of course, my ratings aren't, they're not helped by the fact that you guys are all getting along. Honestly, I would love to just and probably I could, but I could probably stir it up pretty good right now. But I think that there are not just those three and me that want to see it stirred up, and it's just not happening. And I'm not going to go out of my way to, like, hey, hear what he said or whatever, but I could. But I guess there's one other thing that has come up in a number of the interviews on the sheriff's race that I've done and talked to people, is that there's a dissatisfaction with what has gone before. Mm-hmm. Certainly Buncich is the biggest one, but there's other ones that, kind of surfaced in the sheriff's office. And that, I guess now that I'm really thinking about it, you guys are saying we're going to run a clean campaign, and it's really mostly 5 cops going for a political job. So you could probably think that it's, going to remain clean. But are you trying to set the tone for going into the office? Or, what's the
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll talk about, there have been some problems. Now you want to set a new tone. Is this starting in the campaign?
Absolutely. It starts right now. Day one, when I made that announcement that I'm going to run, I'm going to have a professional campaign, and that's where it started, day one. And that's what I want to bring into the sheriff's department, bring professionalism and compassion for people. And my job is not to worry about all the background noise that's going on and people wanting to stir the pot. My job is to make sure that people are safe. As the police chief in St. John, that is my main focus, is making sure that the citizens in our town remain safe, and all the other things that I do, that citizens in this county remain safe. And that's my primary focus, and that's going to be my primary focus as sheriff. And you hit the nail on the head. So that sets the tone day one when I started this, to remain professional, and that's the professionalism that I'm going to bring to the sheriff's department.
All right. It's boring as...
Sorry.
It is.
Yeah, well,
no, these are not boring, guys. Everyone, I think, are most of the candidates. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. You're going to hear about 6 or 7 commercials because we are loaded. And then we are going to come back, and it will be the paid portion of committee to elect Stephen Flores as Lake County Sheriff. We're going to go through his background, motivations a little deeper. I wanted to comment specifically on the political nature of it, which I did yesterday. And like I said, I've joked with you when nobody's here. It's kind of boring, and it is. We expect fireworks in the Lake County Sheriff's race, and we're not getting it. And maybe that is a testament to setting the tone going forward. We're going to start right now as a political show. It's paid for by the committee to elect Stephen Flores as the Lake County Sheriff. Steve, thanks for coming in today and writing me a check.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
St. John Police Chief.
Yes, sir.
Got a nice little community, voted in some respects, in some categories, by the Indy Star and some national publications as the best town in Indiana to live in. You got a nice group that you work with. People care about the town, care about the police department. Nice career going there. All of a sudden you want to be the Lake County Sheriff. Why?
Well, it's a great question. This is something that I've prepared for my entire life, for almost 50 years. The day I was born, this is what I prepared for, and this is what I wanted to do growing up in a law enforcement family. Being around police officers my entire life, and also firemen, public service is what I'm about and what I believe in. And just, the connections and things that I've done in my law enforcement career, and the connections that I've made across the entire state, I think with my qualifications gives me a great foundation to be here today where I'm sitting, and to go after that position. I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. I love being a police officer. I wake up every day and thank God that I'm blessed to be able to do what I do. And I owe it to him for that. Some days are obviously better than others, but I really, truly enjoy serving the people. And I think with the things that I've done and the things that I've been able to do as the police chief in St. John, I want to take that to the next level.
You say law enforcement family. What do you mean? I'm going to move you over here so you can look at me.
Sure.
There you go.
So my father was a 2-time police chief in the city of East Chicago. He retired from there, Gus Flores. He served under 3 different administrations there in East Chicago. My uncle Ralph was a police officer there, retired from the police department as well, but at 30 some years. And then my cousin Sam was also a police officer there in East Chicago, and he had 26 years, retired from the police department. So that's I grew up through that my entire life. I remember going as a kid, my dad taking us to the police station and hanging out there, and during the summer when we were on summer break that, I wanted to be there. I wanted to hang out there and be with him. And obviously I couldn't go every single day, but we used to go there to the gym and shoot hoops in the basketball gym there that they had at the station, and just growing up around that my entire life. And, obviously back then my dad was friends with a lot of them, and our families would hang out with their families. So it was one big family, and I enjoyed it. And it's what I wanted to do, and just growing up through that.
So your dad's obviously a legendary police chief. I interviewed him many times when he was in there at EC. Well respected in the law enforcement community. But what specifically did you take away from his leadership of what could be kind of a difficult department at times, and a lot of crime in EC at times? What did you take away from him and watching him that would propel you to be the next sheriff of Lake County?
Honesty and integrity. That's what he truly believed in, and also compassionate professionalism. Those are his mottos, and that's what he believed in, and that's what he taught, his officers. And, people that knew my dad always tell me, your dad was one of the most honest people you ever meet in your life. And that's how he treated that position. That's how he treated the police officers. And he cared. He genuinely cared about not only the police officers, but the community. And that's something that I recognized right away as a young kid, his compassion for what he did. And again, those values that we were taught as young kids between my mom and dad, transitioned into his career and transitioned into me, and it transitioned into my career as well too. So again, honesty, integrity, and compassionate professionalism is something that he believed in, and I picked up on those values, and it works.
So you talk about family, and you're I think you're of a kind of a different geographic backgrounds, right?
Yes.
What would that be?
I'm a Puerto Rican.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah,
I wanted
half
you to
Serbian,
say
half
it
Puerto
so
Rican.
that I wasn't, tagged with something there, but so half Serbian and half Puerto Rican, and that's not just you. There's another wing of that family too, right?
Sure.
So there's a whole bunch of, you said it, Puerto Ricans running around. So you've put a Hispanic culture with Eastern European culture. And I mean, this is a little bit off topic, but how the hell does that work?
Oh, it's great. I mean, we had kind of the best of both worlds, growing up in a household with, my grandparents on my mom's side, the Serbian family. We have a huge family, and same on my dad's side and the Puerto Rican side of the family. We're all very close on both sides. And we, family is everything. And growing up in both of those cultures and being exposed to both of them, I mean, I couldn't ask for more. It was great.
You have a cousin that's actually going to be giving a speech, and people are like, all right, Flores, I've heard it. Most, if you're in the game, if you're one of the 18% that's going to vote, you probably already know this, but you have a cousin who runs the baseball team in Crown Point. He's actually going to be giving a speech next week in, I think, the Rotary about the corn dogs. And, people know him, and, what's the relationship there? That's your cousin, right?
It is. And my cousin Ralph and I, and my brothers Christian and Teddy, and then my cousin Monica, which is Ralph's sister, we're so close with each other. We basically consider each other brother and sisters. I mean, that's how close we are. And when we grew up in East Chicago, we grew up 2 doors down from each other. So we were together all the time. And obviously my mom and their mom are twin sisters. And then my dad and their dad are brothers. So we were very, very close our entire lives growing up. And I consider them like brother and sister. So we're very close.
So I have the exact same thing on my family, the mom and the 2 moms and the 2 dads, brothers. And I remember one of the Hammond councilmen, what was the guy? I forget his name, but he's like, then I'm like, well, then I married, and my cousin married a Hispanic woman, Ramirez, and then I married her cousin. And then he maps it out and he goes, that means your kids are triple kin. And I'm like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it happens in the region if you just stick around long.
It does.
But anyways, just to put some more context here, Christian, people are like, especially in the sports world, they're going to go, man, I know that name. I mean, he's one of the top referees in the region, if not the state of Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And was at one time a pretty decent basketball player. calls a lot of fouls when they don't need to be called. But he's out there all the time. I mean, it's pretty. And of course, he's the father of your nephew who's been drafted, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So give us the details on that.
Yeah. So Christian, he's been a referee for several years now and enjoys it. And
never missed it. Never saw a traveling call he didn't like. But anyways,
he's listening too, by the way.
I know. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, but no, he enjoys it. He loves doing it. It's something he's compassionate about, and with his kids, spends a lot of time with his kids, with his daughter with volleyball and his boys with baseball. And yeah, my nephew Josh was drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers. So he's in his first year there. So,
and where is he?
He's in Arizona right now.
Okay, he's in. They got like a rookie spring training or something like that.
Right. Yeah. So that's where he's at right now. But yeah, I mean, he's very involved in sports and in the community and Cherville baseball, and he knows a ton of people from there, and so yeah. And then my younger brother Teddy lives in Crown Point, and he's involved in a church, in a Serbian church, and knows a lot of people through there. So yeah, we get around.
So geographically, obviously, coming out like a lot of people out of the northern communities, you've spread to St. John, your brothers in Crown Point, Christians in Cherville. So you think knowing the whole Lake County gives you a leg up on people?
I think so. I think we have roots, obviously in East Chicago still. We still know a lot of people there and still have family there. And then again, moving to the Tri-Town area has given us an opportunity to grow there and meet a lot of people and become friends with a lot of people there. So yeah, it's one of the things that I have said in some of my speeches, that I grew up in EC, and I've also have ties to South County. So I know the best of both worlds and, both sides of the county.
So let's talk about the office itself. Okay. Obviously, we've talked about your law enforcement capabilities, and those are unquestioned at this point. The pedigree of a cop, but there's two sides to being the police chief of EC, like your dad was, and there's two sides to being the sheriff of Lake County. And one is that you're law enforcement. You got to make those decisions. How are we going to go about this bust? What are the logistics of an actual raid or whatever? And how pursuits, all that stuff needs to be decided on a law enforcement basis. But as important, or even more important at times, is, I don't know how many hundreds are in the Lake County Sheriff's Office, but you're managing a lot of stuff, including the jail.
Correct.
I mean, it becomes an administrative position as much as a law enforcement position. How do you plan to tackle, or what in your background prepares you for that part of this job?
So obviously, being the police chief in St. John, I've been the police chief there for 7 years now. I'm the second longest serving police chief in the county. So that has given me a great experience on running a budget, running the police department administratively, working with the State Board of Accounts, working with the council and elected officials. So those are a lot of things that the sheriff has to do. And my current roles that I sit on, I'm the president of the Northwest Regional SWAT team. I'm also the president of the South County Crash Reconstruction Team, which is they investigate fatal crashes, and I'm one of the co-founders of that.
Do you see Goddard?
I do all the time. I do, yeah. And then
goofy dude.
Yeah, I see him all the time. See him out there a lot. And then the District 1 Law Enforcement Council, which is 5 Northwest Indiana counties. I'm the president of that organization and the vice president of the Indiana Association of Chiefs of Police. So within those organizations, there's a lot of administrative duties that you have to do. And more importantly is those positions that I fill, I'm chosen and elected into those positions by my peers. So the chiefs of all those organizations and the law enforcement executives of all those organizations pick who's going to fill those positions. So obviously they see something in me, and they felt there's something good in me to be able to fill those spots in all those organizations. So it gives me the opportunity and ability to work administratively, not only locally in my department, but I work with all departments every single day, not only in Lake County, but across the entire state of Indiana. I go downstate. I testify on bills when they're in session, not only for law enforcement, but for the better quality of life for people. So again, those are all administrative duties that the sheriff has to do and has to bring everybody to the table and make sure that things are getting done like they need to. And again, like I said, I'm not just stuck in my little circle in St. John. I've been on the Major Crimes Task Force. I've investigated many homicides. So I was a canine handler. I was a detective. So I've got experience all the way around the table, and coupling that all together gives me the ability to make sure that I understand what's going on and what needs to be done, and working with people and bringing other people to the table gives me the opportunities, giving me a very strong foundation to build on and make it even better.
So when you look at your leadership style, and quite frankly, in the county of Lake, there probably isn't a bigger position that requires more direct leadership, or should. What would you characterize your leadership style as?
Collaborator. I am big. I am big on working with other agencies and bringing everybody together, because we're better together than we are by ourselves. In those positions that I just spoke of, and the things that I've done and been able to do, and again, creating that crash team that's 10 agencies now. I started that with the chief in Cedar Lake at the time was Bill Fisher. Him and I started that, brought everybody to the table because there was a need. So we got it done. We created it. So again, collaboration is something I'm big on. And I believe bringing people together and working together, not only just law enforcement, but for the community with faith-based organizations. I think I'm great at that. I've been proven to be able to do that. Again, otherwise my peers wouldn't elect me to fill those positions. So I think bringing that to the sheriff's department and knowing those skills that I have and bringing that together, I think we could do some great things, and we're going to do some great things and there's been a lot of great police work throughout this entire county that's happened throughout the entire state of Indiana. And as you mentioned, St. John is the second safest town in Indiana, just named that. So bringing that in, I'm proud of the officers because it's about them. It's the work that they do and the things that they do. They suit up every day and go out there and risk their lives and make sure people are safe. And I want to take that and make Lake County one of the safest counties in the country.
So that is, I guess that lends directly, you kind of covered some of this, but, we looked at your qualifications and, it's almost across the board. I mean, you've gotten a little more comfortable with it, but you're a cop and don't necessarily want to talk about yourself, but now you're out here and you have to. Right. That's part of the game, and I get it. As a matter of fact, you're telling me, I've known you for a long time, you're telling me a bunch of stuff I didn't know because you never talk about yourself, but you have to. Right. This is what people are listening right now, and that, more than half of our people that listen vote, and, you got to let them know. So we went through all that. We went through, your background, family, law enforcement. Now let's talk about what you want to do. So this is I remember like 450 people in the department, if I remember interviewing sheriffs, or 450, 500, something like that. Mm-hmm. You got this jail, you've got law enforcement. There's always disagreements over where the sheriffs should be. Should they just be in unincorporated? Should they be just going into Gary? Should they be going and patrolling Hammond and everywhere else? What do you want to see the Lake County Sheriff's Office be?
Well, that's a very good question, and there's a lot that I want to do. First and foremost, as I said, I want to make sure that we bring everybody to the table and we're working together. I want us to rejoin the Metro Homicide Unit that the prosecutor's office has. The Sheriff's Department is currently not part of that, but I want to work with Prosecutor Carter and establish and keep that good relationship that we have and work with them on that. We're going to do a full evaluation of the Sheriff's Department, from the jail to the police department to animal control. The jail, it's not unique just to Lake County. Those are issues that are happening there are across the entire country. And there's other jails throughout the state because, again, I work with a lot of the chiefs and sheriffs now in my current role as a vice president of this Chiefs Association. So I speak with a lot of them, and being downstate, working with the Sheriff's Association, it's nothing unique to Lake County. But with that said, there's a lot of improvements that can be made. And we are going to go in there, do a full evaluation. We're going to have jail staff to be able to have a seat at the table to let us know what needs to be done, and we're going to do everything we can to make the improvements there because, of course, there needs to be improvements made. The retention and recruitment for the jail, as far as the corrections officers, we need to work on that and keep working to get their pay raised, which they have over the last couple of years. But they're the unsung heroes of the Sheriff's Department. We got to take care of them. The animal control, again, that's another thing. We got to take care of our animals. We got to make sure that when they come into our facility, they have the proper facilities, they have the proper care and treatment that they need, and making sure that our facility is safe and up to par. So, there's some improvements we're going to make there. And in the police department, one of the biggest things that I've done, and as my role in police chief, is the crisis intervention program that we have in St. John. One of my officers trained in that, and he trains other police officers in that. And basically what that is these officers are able to respond to incidents with people that are having mental health crisis, and they help them. They provide resources to them, and the goal of it is to give them long-term care and long-term help, so that way we're not dealing with them every couple of days, because that's what we were doing. The answer back then was jail, and and jail's not the answer for these folks that are suffering from mental illnesses. So we have to do a better job in making sure we respond to those incidents to help those people in a long-term care. That's something I'm passionate about that I'm working on now. I've already worked on, and we need to keep moving forward with that and make it even better. Another thing is building the gaps with our youth, making sure we build relationships with our youth. The technology part of it, we got to stay on top of that because that changes every single day. Like I'm sure it doesn't here. There's new stuff that comes out all the time, but we got to be smart about it, making sure we're spending money smart and making sure we're not just wasting it and that's being utilized in the technology that we get.
Yeah, just to clarify with my producer, I think it's 25 minutes, not 20. So I think we have 5 more minutes. If that's, yeah, that's right. So let's, one of the things that you mentioned in there is like, dealing with mental illness and maybe getting out and they call it community policing. But as you well know, we have the award-winning veteran show on Friday, and there's a lot of veterans that are listening right now, and they have the veterans court.
Mm-hmm.
Way higher percentages of mental illness in the veterans community. What is there anything that's in what you want to do that, specifically recognizes this?
Absolutely. So the sheriff's department already employs mental health professionals. Not only do they help the folks inside the jail, but they also take in veterans. If somebody walks in off the street and needs assistance, they help them. And I think that's a great program, and we need to take what they do because those folks do a tremendous job. But that's something I would definitely like to expand and make it even better. I recently visited the Operation Combat Bike Saver, which their name now is Charlie Bravo, I believe. It's in Crown Point.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke with the gentleman there, Jason, who runs that program, and he helps veterans. They bring veterans in and let them build a bike and kind of get their minds off things. And I talked to him about partnering with him to help veterans out, and that's exactly what he does. So I want to make sure we have programs like that and build a relationship with him to help our veterans.
Speaking of relationships, what is your relationship with Bernard Carter, the longtime Lake County prosecutor here?
I've known him for a very long time. My dad knew him. My mom worked in his office for many years. I have a great relationship with him, and I look forward to working with him. I think he does a great job. Him and I have worked together for many, many years now, even before I became chief as a detective, and working on the Major Crimes Task Force as the deputy commander of that organization. Obviously, I worked very closely with the prosecutor's office and all the homicide cases that we worked. So, yeah, I have a great relationship with him, and I look forward to expanding that as well, too, and work with him closely.
So, we covered a lot. A lot of people don't know who you are, or God, I heard that Florida's name. Where is that? We put it into context, I guess. So, I guess the last question is a little bit covered in a previous segment, but you're a cop and you're running around going to all these political fundraisers and all of this political stuff. How have you dealt with that?
You're right. I am the police. And like I said, I don't lead from behind a desk. I still suit up. I still get out there. I still stop cars. I make arrests. I take reports. I haven't been doing as much lately because I've been busy on a campaign trail, but I enjoy being out there and being with the officers and interacting with them because I get a better understanding of what's going on out there to make better decisions. So I miss that. I miss being out there, and I will be back out there when this is done and over. And God willing, when I win, I'm going to be out there in the community. I've been having a blast with this. I really have. I met some great people, a lot of great folks out there. It's been a lot, which I've expected, but I'm enjoying it. I really am. And being able to connect with all these different people and these folks has been fun. It's been stressful at times. My family and my wife has been a champion. She's been by my side the entire time. You might
as well say her first name.
Gail, yes.
Gail, okay, there you go.
Yeah, so she's been by my side and been my biggest champion. My mom, my daughter, Alexis and Roberta, and my brothers and cousin. So it's been great. They've been by my side and kept me going through all this, and I can't thank them enough. But it's been a blast. We got, 12 days left to go, and so we're looking forward to getting across that finish line.
See that camera over there?
Yes.
We're closing it down. You got a minute and a half. Just what do you want to say to the people of Lake County about why you want to be your next sheriff? Go ahead, look into this digital
Sure.
camera right there. Yeah.
This is something I mentioned earlier. This is something I prepared for my entire life. This is what I wanted to do as a young kid. I'm living my dream. Not only as a police officer, I was a firefighter, so public safety is in my blood. My current role and the experience that I have on a local level, my entire career has been here in Lake County. I've worked for the people. I work for the people downstate. I go down there and testify on bills, advocating for folks here in this county. I want to make sure that the experience that I have throughout my career transitioned into the sheriff's department. And like I said, there's been a lot of great police work that has been done in this county and through this entire state. So I want to take the good work that we are doing and expand that and make it even better. And I promise you, my dad always told me when I became a police officer, he said, there's two things you never want to tarnish, and that's the badge on the left side of your chest, and more importantly, the right side, the name on the right side of your chest. And I will hold to that, and I will never let him down. God bless his soul. And I want to make sure that I serve the people with compassion and professionalism, like he taught me, with honesty and integrity. And that's what you're going to get out of me. I'm a career law enforcement officer, and I'm here to serve the people and make sure that we do what we need to do to make sure you people stay safe. And I ask for your support.
That was paid for by the committee to elect Stephen Flores sheriff. Thanks a lot. Stick around. We'll be right back on A Voice and Face of the Region.
The mission of North Township is simple: help those in need. But today, most receive nothing. The number of people assisted has dropped from 2,200 to 1,800. We can do better. Social event profits don't reach the poor. I'll change that without raising taxes. We need resources, retraining, and a renewed focus on results. As a veteran, entrepreneur, and economist, I bring the experience to deliver. I'm asking for your trust and your vote. Paid for by the committee to elect Dr. Jess Ortiz.
My name is Jason Gore, and I'm asking for your vote to be Lake County's next sheriff. I was born, raised, started the family, and worked my nearly 30-year career in law enforcement, both as a local police officer and as an ATF agent, all here in Lake County. I promise to lead differently, restore the public's trust in the Sheriff's Department, and to build a world-class police organization that is focused on serving you. In this election, Lake County residents have a different choice.
State Senator Dan Darnell was supposed to be different. He promised to fight for Hoosier families and stand with President Trump. He failed. Darnell voted against President Trump's agenda in Washington. That hurt Hoosier families, and he voted to let a Chinese company buy Hoosier farmland, putting China before us. Dan Darnell, opposing Trump, voting like a liberal, letting us down. A disgrace.
President Trump has endorsed conservative Trevor DeVries for state senate, a real Republican who will fight for Hoosier values. Trevor DeVries will stand with Trump, protect Hoosier farmland from China, defeat the liberal agenda, and never let you down. A true America First conservative. The right choice for Indiana. Endorsed by Trump, Trevor DeVries for state senate. Election day is May 5th. Paid for by American Leadership PAC.
This is National Work Zone Awareness Week.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Okay, this is a paid political commercial on WJOB. And this morning we have none other than Edward Jenkins, a candidate for Lake County Sheriff. Good morning.
Good morning, Lake County. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm great. And so you're running for Lake County Sheriff. Tell us why.
For the past 9 years, I've been deputy chief of the Lake County Sheriff's Department. A great deal of my adult life has been invested as far as in serving the citizens of Lake County. I would like to continue that, and I think we can make the Lake County Sheriff's Department not only the best police department, but we can make Lake County the best county in Indiana.
So tell listeners your qualifications. Again, you've been a police officer for a long time, and with Lake County.
I have.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but your dad was also a police officer.
My father was. I'm second generation law enforcement. The story I like to tell everybody is I'm the American dream that came true. I started at the county cutting grass right out there at the county government complex when the parking lot were big circles, and I used to mow grass out there. And I got hired in the jail, and I did a couple of years in the jail before I got hired on the police department. After I got hired on the police department, I had, all of us, go to police academy, go to patrol. And in my time, just short of 30 years at the sheriff's department, I've done everything from patrol to investigations. I've been a sergeant, lieutenant, and like I say, for the past 9 years, I've been the deputy chief of police at Lake County Sheriff's Department.
So, Lake County Sheriff's Police Department is a very large organization because you've got the law enforcement side, you've got the jail side, Correct. You've got animal control. I mean, there are some large components to the department.
There are.
And you're currently deputy chief, so you have a pretty good understanding of what that organization entails.
Correct. When you have been there and you've been the deputy chief, you know the police department from top to bottom. And I tell people one of the benefits of working for the sheriff's department, you work with so many different areas in Lake County. You work, my common phrase, you work from the lake to the river, from the state line to the county line. So there has not been one city or town I have not been a police officer in the 30 years. And in doing that, you know the police department, and you become very familiar with other agencies, whether it be Whiting, whether it be Lowell, whether it be Dyer, whether it be Snyder. A lot of people don't know where Snyder is, So you become very familiar with the county.
And Lake County, of course, is unique because, as you just mentioned, it has such a relationship with all those different cities and towns. It's responsible basically to support every other municipal police department in Lake County.
Correct. And what I like to say is we work with agencies. Sometimes people think, the county supersedes. No. We work with agencies. So if an agency needs us, we at the Sheriff's Department are always glad to come in and help.
So we were talking before we came on the air. You're a parent.
I am. I have 4 beautiful children. I have a son who's 31, a daughter who's 28. My son has his master's degree. He works at a college. My daughter's a physical therapy assistant. My middle daughter is in social work. She works with foster kids. And the youngest girl is just going back to school.
So you're a parent. You're a lifelong resident. You've been with the department for 30 years. There are always challenges in law enforcement. If you look at Lake County Sheriff's Department, if you become sheriff, what would you say is your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge right now is the jail. And the problem with the jail is, and this is nationwide, it's not isolated or it's not unique to Lake County. There's a dying interest as far as law enforcement is concerned, and that's across the country. I remember when I first hired on the Sheriff's Department, either in the jail or the police side, when we would open up for hiring, you'd have 200-300 people come out for the job. Now we're lucky if we get 60. So currently, our jail is budgeted for 222 correctional officers. We sit at 150. That's greatly understaffed. When I hear about we have a female correctional officer who worked 130 consecutive 16-hour shifts, that's crazy.
That's absolutely crazy.
That's crazy. That's you worry about burnout, you worry about fatigue, you worry about making a mistake and getting somebody hurt. So the biggest challenge for the next sheriff, who I believe will be me, the biggest challenge is trying to find a way to not only get our jail up to staff, but also prick the interest of young people by getting them interested in law enforcement. And my plan is to start an Explorers program for kids between the ages of 16 and 18, have them work around the Sheriff's Department, and maybe that'll be enough to draw interest in young people to say, this is a job I can do.
Well, it is a challenge because I can remember a number of police departments years ago where they would have 30 and 40 applicants for every vacancy.
Correct.
And now they're scrambling to find good quality candidates. And you just mentioned you're the parent of 4 children, and they're all sounds like they're all very successful, and none of them have chosen law enforcement as a career. You were influenced by your dad.
Yes.
But things have changed. Times have changed.
It has. And that's across the country. You talk to other agencies around the country, and you see where law enforcement agencies are advertising all across the country, hey, come be a policeman. it's a dying interest, and we have to find a way to get young people, both men and women, back interested in law enforcement and investing in the community.
And you worked in the jail before, so you understand firsthand the demands that are placed on correctional officers.
And one of the things I like to say, too, is that one of the things I don't like for anybody to do is to treat our correction officers as less than. In my opinion, when you work for the sheriff's department, there's not a correction side, there's not a police side, there's not a civilian side. There's just a Lake County Sheriff's Department family. And when it hit me hard, a few months ago we had food brought in, and I put out the email to all employees, hey, come grab you something to eat, come grab you some lunch. And I noticed some people from the jail didn't come in, and I asked them, I said, why didn't you come in and get something to eat? And they said, Chief, I really didn't feel comfortable coming down there and getting something. That bothered me. Why wouldn't you feel comfortable? You're part of the Lake County Sheriff's Department family. So that's some of the things I hope to remove those lines and make sure everybody that works for the Sheriff's Department family is comfortable and welcome.
So when you look at the Sheriff's Department and you go to the law enforcement side, you look at there's a lot of specialization. For example, the county has the only aviation unit.
Correct.
It has a crime lab.
Correct.
So those operations support other departments.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit, about the support that the Lake County Sheriff's Department provides to other departments.
Well, with our aviation unit, when we have missing children, whether it be a child with autism or an elderly person who suffers from dementia, or if you have, even with the Marine unit, you have boaters who are stranded or whatever, the Lake County Sheriff's Department is proud to say that they assist those citizens in either locating their loved ones or rescuing people who are stranded in the water or whatever. I think we do a phenomenal job of making sure that the citizens of Lake County serve. Now, with our Lake County Crime Lab, anytime we have, God forbid, a homicide or a tragedy, our Lake County Crime Lab does an excellent job of going out there, processing the scenes to make sure that we can build a firm case. We're trusted by the prosecutor's office to do a good job. So a lot of times we may be called by East Chicago, Gary, whatever agency calls us, and we're happy to go out there and serve the citizens to make sure that those families who have suffered this tragedy, we can do whatever we can to bring them some semblance of justice by bringing those people held accountable for that tragedy.
So there are a lot of listeners out there who are scratching their head right now saying, well, who should I vote for? So tell listeners why they should vote for you.
Okay. There is no other candidate in this race that is as qualified as I am. There is no other candidate for 30 years who has done it right, who at no point in time has integrity ever been questioned, who has served the citizens right. I didn't, and I like to say that I didn't pretty boy this. I didn't become a police officer and get tucked away in a nice little corner and have a nice little cush job. For 30 years, I've been a police officer. I've been on call. I've worked cases. My name with the prosecutor's office is phenomenal. When you talk to the prosecutor's office and they tell you, Jenkins, you're the only one I know in this race, that tells you a lot, because what that tells you is you've been the guy who has been here helping the citizens of Lake County bring charges about it. So when you ask yourself, who should you vote for? I ask all the citizens of Lake County to put all of their preconceived notions to the side and say, listen, here's a guy who has done it the right way, who has a good name with the Sheriff's Department, who knows the Sheriff's Department inside and out, who's ready day one, who knows the strengths, the weaknesses of that department, and can make that police department better.
And just for listeners just joining us, we're here with Eddie Jenkins, who is a candidate for Lake County Sheriff in the upcoming election. I mentioned before about there's so many different venues and aspects of the Lake County Sheriff's Department, and another one is animal control.
Correct.
And want to give listeners your perspective on animal control, because I know somebody who took note of a recent mailing about your stand.
Well, I'm a big animal lover. Unfortunately, you don't like to talk about it because it draws some emotion. But a few years ago, I remember having to put my own dog down. And anybody who's ever had to put a pet down, they know how hard that is. Currently at my house right now, I have my daughter's 2 cats. So what I'm a big believer in is maintaining and supporting a no-kill animal shelter, but I want to take it a step further. I want to start an animal abuse registry where if you abuse an animal, you don't get another animal. I believe that's huge. And I believe that those who abuse animals should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, period.
Well, I think my 2 dogs, Sophie and Luna, are cheering for that one. I mean, I totally agree with you. if people can abuse a pet, if they can abuse a dog or a cat, just imagine what they can do to a human being. And so it's a point very well taken.
I don't believe there's bad pets. I believe there are bad pet owners. So a lot of times when people sit there and they say, "Oh, that dog's mean" or whatever. No, if you really get to the root of it is a lot of times dogs are afraid. They haven't been socialized. They haven't been properly brought up. It's not that they're mean. It's that they have not been properly. And eventually, with some training or whatever, we can get that animal adopted out and to a healthy family or to a good family where that dog can spend out the rest of his days living a good life.
So again, we're talking to Eddie Jenkins, a candidate for Lake County Sheriff. More than 30 years in law enforcement. Okay, all at the county.
Correct.
And you've seen changes, you've seen challenges, you've seen opportunities. Let's talk about opportunities. There are a lot of people moving across the line from Illinois to Indiana now.
Correct.
Okay, and they're coming here in part because it's much safer. There's a lot of opportunity here. How do you address those kinds of needs and those kinds of issues for people that are saying, "Well, I'm looking to get out of Illinois. I'm looking to move to Indiana." What can they expect from you as Lake County Sheriff?
As Lake County Sheriff, what I say they can look for me is to be present, to be tangible. I think your next Lake County Sheriff should not be viewed as a retirement job. It's not a retirement job. It's for somebody who has been working hard for the citizens for 30 years. Now, in saying that, if you're a citizen from Illinois, we welcome you as long as you come over here, be productive, do what, blend in, be hardworking like everybody else. I'm not one who says, no, we don't want Illinois people. We welcome everybody. But we also don't want people coming over here causing problems. I mean, as far as in being a police officer, I think my job is to make sure that all of the Lake County citizens are served well and that they have a safe environment. When you're the sheriff, what I think about, if you move over from Illinois, if you move from Ohio or wherever you move from, I think about the little lady who lives at home and she want to walk to the corner store. I don't want to have to worry about somebody hitting her upside the head. I don't want to have her worry about somebody doing something violent to her or team takeovers. How can we serve the citizens well and how can we make sure they're safe? When the protests happen, and in this country, everybody's welcome to protest but we just want to make sure, I was out there to make sure that there was no destruction of property and people were able to voice their opinion as free as you want to, but you will not destroy property or hurt people. So as sheriff, and in doing that, we've done it before, we can do it again, and anytime any area, any agency needs us, the Sheriff's Department will be there.
There are critics of Lake County government that say the Sheriff's Department is the biggest piece of the pie, and that government is unwieldy and expensive. So how will you basically address those people who want accountability when it comes to efficiency in operating such a large operation?
I would say that the basis of any productive or thriving society has to be public safety. You have to invest in your public safety. We all want to make sure that our children are safe. We all want to make sure. I'll give you an example. Recently, I've heard about bullying to the point where kids at schools were being bullied to the point where the children committed suicide. That's unfortunate. So
Absolutely.
What did I do? My campaign started a no bullying campaign to say, because at the Sheriff's Department, we already employ qualified mental health professionals, but we can expand on that. And one of the things I say is that if you call into the Sheriff's Department and we will hook you up with a qualified mental health professional, and that qualified mental health professional will work with the families and the schools to ensure that those children are heard. Now, back to your point as far as public safety, all that goes into a nutshell. All that goes into one bond that, public safety has to be, nobody wants to pay for it, but it's a necessity. We don't want to be revisionist to say, okay, we can cut here, and then something happens and go, oh, maybe we shouldn't have cut there. Public safety is a necessity, and I hope that the citizens of Lake County and the government of Lake County says, hey, listen, we need to support our officers to do whatever is necessary to ensure that our families and our children and our animals are all safe.
So I got to ask this question because as I'm doing this interview, it dawns on me, you're not a politician. Okay, you're running for a position that historically has been a very political position.
Correct.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
Correct.
So talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of listeners who are trying to make up their mind of who to vote have that concern that, and even some of your opponents have said, that there's too much politics in Lake County and Lake County Sheriff's Department. So how do you handle that kind of situation?
Well, it's funny. It's funny when my opponents say that, because during this campaign, you hear common phrases that they use. I've heard my opponents use the phrase force multiplier. I want to be nimble, this, and I want to be that, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And it sounds catchy. We want to be transparent. Let's get to the root of it. The Sheriff's Department is here to keep you safe. That's the root of it. As your sheriff, two things I want to do: make sure you're safe, and I want to make sure the money is spent correct. Period. I'm not going to give you any fancy phrases. I'm not going to try to lure you with all these fancy words. I have 7 tiers, 7 pillars of this and 7 pillars of that. No, the basis of it is, can we keep you safe, and will we spend the money correctly? And the answer to both of those are yes.
When you look at the Sheriff's Department, and you'd mentioned before about the need to recruit new officers and correctional officers and law enforcement officers, and you look at the department, and it has over 200 officers. Is that correct?
We said about 160.
160. So 160 officers, and then a couple hundred correctional officers. Correct. And you've got plenty of individuals who've gone to work for that department, and they view it as it's a career, just as it was for you.
It is.
How do you speak to those individuals? Because there are a lot of good men and women who have worked in the Lake County Sheriff's Department all these years, and they viewed it as a profession. They view it as a challenge and an opportunity to do good. Mm-hmm. And then you've got kind of all the political nonsense, if you will, that gets mixed in.
Being a police officer, I believe, is the greatest job in the world. If you are truly interested in working with the community, one of the beautiful things about working for the Sheriff's Department is you deal with so many different demographics. You can go from urban to suburban to rural. If you become a police officer, when I talk to our younger officers, when I talk to our officers, I tell them you got one career. Enjoy it. I don't want an officer coming here for the political side of it. I want you to come here to want to be a police officer. You have one career. When you look back on your career, I want you to say, man, I did it right, and I held the standard, and I was honest, and my integrity was intact. That's what I want out of a police officer. That's what I want to see. I don't want you to look back on it and say, because let's be honest, any of us could come to the Sheriff's Department and we could have political favors and you give me this nice little cush job, and then you look back on it and say, man, I really didn't do anything. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Sure, no, it makes total sense.
I want you to get to the end of your career and say, man, I did it. I remember this. I'll give you an example. In 2013, I was sent down to Geary Police Department where I worked at homicide unit. I worked with a lot of good investigators, and we did a phenomenal job of making sure families got some sense of justice. In 2015, the Metro Homicide Unit was developed where I was the very first supervisor of that Metro Homicide Unit. In saying that, I remember the on-calls. There was not a task force. When you were on call, that was your on-call. It wasn't me coming in the next day and picking up somebody's file to see what I could do with it. It was me going out at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and yes, I was tired, and yes, it took a toll on family time and this, that, and the other. But in those struggles and in those challenges, those are memories. I remember being called out at 3 o'clock in the morning and working at 5 o'clock in the evening and then going home, and before I can catch some rest, they're calling me out again. I remember those times. And even though they were hard at the time, those are good memories. So when you ask me about police officers and politicians, that's what I look forward to. That's what I want to look for in a police officer, a guy who really wants to just be a police officer.
So we've talked about the biggest challenge as sheriff, okay? And we've kind of talked now about the biggest challenge of being a police officer at Lake County. When it comes to law enforcement and security in Lake County, there's also some shared responsibility to the residents.
Correct.
Talk about that for a minute. I mean, what do you see? that residents need to do to make our community safer, to make our county safer?
I think we all need to come together. If the sheriff's department has some shortcomings right now, but one of the things I would like to see is us be more involved in the community. We're not involved in the community as much, and I would like to see the community invest in us and we invest in the community. So what do I mean by that? So for years, long before the sheriff's race came up, and it was nothing that I wanted to take and put on a resume and say, oh, this will look good if I run for sheriff. It was nothing about that. I was involved in mentoring. And when I mentor young men, because you can speak to it as well as I can speak to it, that as young people, there's a point in time in your life where we all come to that fork in the road, where you can go left, where you can go right. And sometimes pouring into young people is enough for them to say, okay, wait a minute, hold on. He talked to me about this. Does it make short-term decisions have sometimes long-term consequences?
Sure.
So I remember one of the things my father told me, and it always stuck with me. He said, that's how you get caught thinking you can't get caught. So what do I need from the residents? I need us to unify as a county. Doesn't matter where you're from. Unify as a county. Let's support the sheriff's department and every other local agency, and let's make Lake County the best county in Indiana.
One of the problems that we have is that we sit in the shadows of Chicago.
Correct.
Okay, we sit in a large metropolitan area, the third largest in the nation. We are a conduit, if you will, between Indianapolis and Chicago and Detroit and everywhere else.
And Milwaukee.
And so people come through here basically, and we become a stop-off point for some of the crime that exists in those communities. How does the Lake County Sheriff's Department address those kinds of issues?
Well, those are issues that we deal with currently. We will continue to deal with that. I believe that we have demonstrated that when you come over here and commit a crime, that we will pursue you, we will capture you, we will take you to jail. So a few years ago, we used to do security over at Uppy Alley, Bowling Alley over there in Cherryville. And at that time, I was in charge of scheduling. And I told all of our officers, I said, here's what I want you to do. If somebody breaks the law or does something wrong, they go to jail, period. It's none of that, oh, I'll cut you. No. They go to jail. Here's what I want. I want the Lake County Sheriff's Department reputation to be, if you break the law, they're going to do it right, but they will take you to jail. And when that reputation goes across the state lines, as the Lake County Sheriff's Department reputation is kind of now, hey, you don't get to come over because the county police doesn't play that. They're going to make sure their citizens, their business owners are all safe, and they're going to do it right.
Again, I want to go back to an issue you brought up before about integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you said there's no question about Edward Jenkins' integrity and the respect that you've earned. And I want you to just expand for a minute on why that's so important for people to consider in electing a sheriff.
I believe it's huge in the sense of, what do we say integrity is? Integrity is not what you do when everybody's looking. Integrity is what you do when nobody's looking. What my name means something to me. The reason why it's important, even when I first became a police officer, I think back to how proud my parents were at my academy graduation. And I never wanted to do anything to end up in the paper where, and this is just me, and I'm not trying to be over dramatic about it, where my parents would have to explain when they went to work, what was your son thinking? Or why would you want to take your parents from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum where, okay, now they've gone from pride and being proud to the other end of the spectrum where they're like, man, I hope they don't ask me anything about my son. That means something to me. It means something to me that people talk to my children and they go, your dad's deputy chief of police. That means I've carried myself with integrity. That means like and it meant the world to me. If I told my kids I was going to be there to pick them up, if I told them I was going to do something, I made sure I followed through with it. My son grew up in Mississippi with his mom down there. That was prior to me getting married. He calls me so much, and that means that when you have a son who grows up 11 hours away, it goes back to integrity. When you have a son who grew up 11 hours away, but he tells everybody that's my hero, that means I was there. That means I was present. That means my word meant something, my integrity was good, and everything that I promised him, I came through on.
Again, as we wrap up this morning, tell people why they should give their vote to you as Lake County Sheriff.
Okay. Citizens of Lake County, this is what I ask you. I ask you to honestly look at me and say, here's a guy who's been the deputy chief of police for 9 years. He's been with the sheriff's department just short of 30 years. My name is good. My reputation is good. I ask you to look at the qualifications and look at the person, look at the man, and say, here's a man who's done it right, who has never let us down, who has served the citizens. For 30 years, I have worked to fatigue at a lot of times. I did 20 years at community hospital, and I can't tell you how many times. And sometimes working in the hospital can be very strenuous. But that being said, I ask the citizens to look past all the other rhetoric. Don't worry about all the political stuff. I'm not a politician. I'm not here to give you any fancy slogans. I'm not here trying to trick you. I say the sheriff's job is not a retirement job. It's a job for somebody who's been at the sheriff's department, who knows the sheriff's department from the bottom to the top, knows the strengths and the weaknesses. Help me make Lake County Sheriff's Department the best, and I ask for your vote on May 5th. My common phrase is, I'm number one on the ballot, number one in your heart. Please, on May 5th, remember Edward G. Jenkins for sheriff.
All right, there we have it. Edward G. Jenkins, the candidate for Lake County Sheriff. The election is coming up in just a couple of days. Make sure you go out and vote. And this has been a paid political program, part of WJOB, getting the word out and giving candidates like Edward Jenkins the chance to explain why he deserves your vote and your confidence. Thanks for listening.